All right, here we go. Should be up in just a second. All right, we're live.
Beautiful. Well, thanks for having me on. Pull up the YouTube here.
All right, here we go. I have no clue what just happened.
That's all right. It's I think I'm on your channel. Welcome to Nostalgic Nomics, everyone. I am the old card shop. I've hijacked Alex's stream here.
All right, technical difficulties we're on now. Looks like about 11 people are showing up. I guess we'll just jump right into it. So the old card shop, you want to go ahead and introduce yourself, tell everyone a little bit about yourself, your channel, and just kind of your background and what got you into Pokemon.
Yeah, what's up, everyone? My name is the Old Card Shop. I'm sure a lot of you guys have already seen me out and about in the community. I try to make myself known in the live chats. I'm on Whatnot Live, and I just hit 1,000 subscribers on YouTube. So some of you may probably already be subscribed to me. But if you're not, hey, I'm going to go ahead and throw my plug out there right now. But go check me out on YouTube. We do regular YouTube videos, long form content, that kind of stuff. We talk about all kinds of things. And Alex is a good friend of ours here on the channel, so we appreciate you having us on. So thanks for having us, Alex.
Hey, no problem at all. I know we got some spicy subjects to talk about today. Hopefully we don't rub anyone out there the wrong way. Whenever anyone talks about subjects like this about Pokemon, anyone out there, if you feel differently, hey, just let us know. It's great to have differences of opinions, but we just kind of wanted to talk about some things that are seen as kind of taboo or, aren't talked about as much. And just to put it out there, because I think people, these things need to be talked about, because especially people that don't have experience doing these things, it gives you another outlet of how to enjoy the hobby or, how to grow your collection, grow your investment, whatever that may be. So that's basically what we're going to be doing tonight. So shouldn't be anything too crazy, too controversial, too dramatic, but we definitely did want to touch on some things. So if you want to get into the first subject, let's do it.
Yeah, so I reached out to Alex because I was recently making a video, and it came to my attention that a lot of people weren't talking about the actual plays that are making in Pokemon right now. And I know that Alex is a very, very active, actively engaged, like Pokemon, I want to say investor, flipper, scalper, collector, whatever word, hot topic you want to use as a label. I know he's very involved. So I thought it'd be a fun conversation just to kind of pick his brain a little bit. I thought we might as well do it live. And then you could kind of do the same with me. So I did want to talk about some modern plays that I'm making right now, because I do see a lot of opportunity, as we talk about a lot on your channel, and I do on my channel as well. I think there's a lot of opportunity in modern still to be had. I wouldn't mind also talking about tonight a little bit about the trophy market as well as the high-end vintage market. We didn't talk about this before the stream because I totally forgot about it, but there were some big heritage auctions that I definitely want to talk about at the end of the stream here that happened last night. That I don't know if you heard about them, but did you catch any of the numbers for like the base set first edition box or the big TMB, the trophy card that Radar was selling or anything like that?
Not the trophy card. Yeah, that is the first edition box. So yeah. Still with me?
Okay. So yeah, anyone in the chat, you guys probably know about some of this too, but I'm with you. Yeah. So sorry about that. So hold up. My connection's a little bit.
You're back now.
Here. Okay, we're back. Sorry about that there.
So yeah, the first edition base box, and then also the trophy card.
But yeah, so there were those big auctions that ended, and I would love to talk about that. And maybe we could talk about also some things that I'm seeing just in general in the market. and maybe the taboo around like selling Pokemon cards and why it's such a taboo subject to talk about when you have a big win or you make a big sale or, you know, you make a lot of money. Oh no, you made a lot of money off of something you paid very little for. Like, why is that so controversial? I would love to just kind of have more philosophical talk about why, I don't know, why some people are like willing to talk about it and some people aren't. And, you know, just sort of that kind of a thing. So that's sort of the direction I was thinking about tonight.
Yeah, no problem. I mean, I'm cool with all those subjects. Would you want to start with?
Yeah, well, let's go right into maybe the one that I was thinking about most, but like, what are some things that you're doing right now? Because I think a lot of the audience is like, a lot of the people that watch my channel and a lot of the people that probably watch your channel do interact with both all forms of the hobby. They both interact with vintage, modern. They're kind of, their hands are in everything, because let's be real. If you like Pokemon, you don't just like one thing. You kind of like it all. And so like, I wanted to talk more specifically about some of the things that I was doing right now, because I'm seeing a lot of really good plays in something I've never ever really done before. And so I've been grading more lately than I've ever been doing, which is something that in the last 2 to 3 years I had strictly expressed, in my opinion, in like grading, sort of something that I've been seeing.
Yeah. I mean, so you're probably going to be able to give a lot more on that than me. I'm not super active in the buying and selling as much these days as I have been in the past. And basically it's because, you know, I have enough work basically in my own life to make an income. And so, you know, I'm not able to put full-time effort towards this. So a lot of the plays that I'm making are just trying to find, you know, plays that are, you know, super low risk, but I see growth on in the future. And, you know, I talk about those in my videos, why I see the growth. And, you know, I try to look at past results. And I know there's always talk about, hey, past results don't guarantee future performance. And I get that. But you got to go off something, right? You got to go off your gut. You got to go off your feelings. You got to go off past results. You got to go, you know, how you see things being valued in the future. And so, you know, one of the things I bought a lot of was the Pokemon Go ETBs. Reason I moved into those.
Are we talking about the Pokemon Center exclusive ones specifically?
Just the regular old ETBs.
Oh, cool. Okay, very interesting, because that's not something that I think the average person would think to. I think everyone, the big narrative right now is Pokemon Center exclusive ETBs, Pokemon Center exclusive. What's your thought process behind maybe going for the more regular ones? I'm curious to hear.
It's really just price point. So, you know, when I can't remember the seller, but they put cases on the market for like $427. And, you know, it's $42.70 at ETB. It's a special release set. I don't know how things are where you live, but I mean, I'm in the middle of the country, Missouri. So prices are high here. I'm sure they are on the coasts. And I mean, I know like Target, they're listing Shining Fates at $54.99. And so that's to say that special release sets, I guess this price point is no longer $50. Now it's $55 retail. So I'm starting to think, well, Pokemon Go's a special release set. That means retail is going to be $55. I'm able to get in, you know, close to, you know, low 40s. I'm like, you know, special release sets, usually distributor pricing. I mean, you could tell me a little better, but isn't it usually like mid to high 30s on special release sets? Is that about right?
So from a distributor, it's not quite that high typically. So usually from the regular sets, the ETBs are between 24 and 26, depending on the release. Like my distributor jacked up Evolving Skies a couple extra dollars when they came out because it was Evolving Skies, but they're usually around 24 for the regular, and then the specialty ones are just under like 28 to 30 maybe. So it's pretty low for the specialty, depending on the set. For example, in Shining Fates, when those were close to 120, once again the distributor jacked up the price to all the way to like $34. I think I was paying for Shining Fates ETBs, but this is a once in a blue moon situation that only happens once in a while. So yeah, sorry about anyone who, if my internet was cracking up a little bit. I've tried to see if I can fix it a little bit here. So hopefully this is a little bit better. But yeah, I definitely have been seeing, though, specifically, I think personally, Pokemon Go is a really exciting set. So I don't think you're wrong to be looking at that set as a long-term investment. I personally, though, might have waited a little bit longer to get in on it, especially if I wasn't buying through a distributor. I wasn't going to talk a lot about my distributor plays as much in this particular chat, just because it's not something everyone can replicate. And so a lot of the things that I wanted to talk about were more like things that I thought were replicable. But as far as like when I would get into a set like that, I do believe that Pokemon Go is going to be a really heavily printed set. And going into this market, especially what I would consider to be somewhat of a down market, I think there's going to be a lot of it out there. And so if I was personally going to be looking at making plays into like buying sealed modern, I very, very rarely look at it around pre-order time. In this case, though, the prices are pretty decent for pre-orders. I think that's just because of the times we're in right now. It's not 2020 or 2021 anymore.
Yeah, and I think that's kind of why I get like lumped into a reseller, people like to say, because when I make some plays, like especially this play, I see the prices rising after they started to get bought up on the first wave. So like hopefully what I'm looking, like I said, this is all risk tolerance. I could be wrong. I have to hold them a long time, not see any rise, but I'm hoping that if, there is enough demand for it, even though it's printed heavily, that they can jump up into the 60s or so. I can get out of a lot of my cases, make a good amount of profit, and then basically have a lot of the ones I'm keeping for almost free, if not, a very, very low margin. And so that's basically my, mindset on it. A lot of times, you can get into the sets real cheap, they spike up and then they don't drop until the next reprint comes. And so that's kind of how I'm playing this, is hopefully I can get in a low enough price, sell them into the hype, and then be able to keep maybe a case or two for myself at little cost to me. And then just a few other plays. Like I bought a bunch of those Pikachu V boxes. Seller had them all the way down to $12 a box. And basically the packs and the promo card are worth that. And so I feel like it's like the absolute bottom of the barrel risk play at that point. And I just look for things like that right now. And then I've also, to kind of take the step away from investing, I've also been just kind of collecting. I mean, right, because the market's down, I've been, just finding things I want to like complete in my collection. So I have been picking up, like I did finally complete. I got my full PSA 10 Shining set of all the Shining Legends. And so I was able to complete that because I've been catching a few of those at auction. So that was a fun thing. And I'm just trying to, just collect what I can. And then when I see really low value items on sealed, I'm picking them up. But yeah, I'm not too crazy on the, buying raw and grading. I mean, I think it's the best way to make money if you've got the time. And I just don't have the time right now to put into that, especially with YouTube and everything. So I think you'd be a better person to get into the grading.
Yeah, and I think you're right. I think that we do have kind of, I always think of the different types of, there's every person who's involved with Pokemon probably will fall into a little bit of all of this, every category you'll fall into. But I think of people and different types of sellers and buyers and collectors in 4 different categories, really. I think of someone as sort of either a flipper, or someone like a reseller, someone who's looking to get in and out really quickly and kind of make money on it. It's not necessarily about the long term. You're just looking at kind of to make a little money as maybe a more business, or maybe something that's fun that you can also make money on. So there's that type of a person in the hobby. There's also I would say the collector in the hobby. And so there's someone who doesn't want to do any of that. They don't want to do anything, or maybe they do very minimal amount of that. I have friends in the hobby who don't really buy and sell cards regularly. Maybe they'll trade a little bit, but it's not something they enjoy doing. Like once they get a card, they don't want to let it go. It's their baby, They went and hunted for that card, so why they want to get rid of it? So I understand that too. So there's like the collectors. And then you kind of have like the players as well, which there's the players out there, which I sell a lot on TCG Player. So a lot of what I do on the side is like I have my store on TCG Player. And if there's like cards that like are really good and like trainers that are bulky, that are kind of really useful in decks, those actually sell a lot better on a platform like that. So that's also, you have the players that really are driving a lot of this. The players oftentimes don't get talked about, especially not on these like investment talk channels, or a lot of these YouTube kind of pack breaking channels, because the focus is more on the collectors, which I understand totally. But then you also have the 4th category, which is more of a newer category, I think, which I put you in a lot more, is more of that speculator investor, which is looking for more of that passive, sort of not easier, but less hands-on, more of like a, set it and forget it kind of method. And I think that's something we saw a lot in the last 2 years because of what happened with the appreciation of modern. And I think that's also something we see a little bit more nowadays. So those are the 4 different kind of categories I put things in. You have like the flippers, which, I fall into that a lot of the time. A lot of that term, like scalper, flipper, it's a very like aggressive like term, but it is what I am. I mean, I sell things. I'm a business. I sell things. I pay taxes on it at the end. And like, I'm making money on Pokemon. That doesn't mean I don't also collect this stuff. I don't love this stuff. I'm also a collector. But I also get a lot of enjoyment just handling the cards. I don't need to hold the cards forever to really like to love them, you know? And so I'm also one of those evil pack breakers that you hear about that we haven't talked about really, that we don't even need to go into that. But I also do that for entertainment purposes. And so that is something that I also do that I think in the hobby is really great. I personally think that all that new, like, and I, of course, I've jaded from saying this, but like all the new people that get into it from these like pack breaking channels that maybe a lot of people in the investment sphere don't really get into, I think it's good for the hobby overall, you know? So, but yeah, I'm making a lot of plays right now in modern grading specifically. And so with CGC, I'm going to be a big shill right now. I'm sorry for anyone who doesn't like CGC. I also, if you've listened to any of my content in the past, I've spoken many times about how I don't appreciate any grading company because I think they're all corrupt. But like, if you're going to go with any grading company, you have to think about it somewhat objectively, and especially from like my perspective as a reseller. Recently, CGC has been in the news, I want to say the Poke News, for like lowering their grading standards. And they're supposedly, the word on the street is they're handing out 10s like pancakes. Like it's just hot can, you know, it's a 10 for you, 10 for you, 10 for you. Vintage, who cares? They're getting a 10. You know what I saw on their IG just yesterday? They posted a perfect first edition base set Alakazam, a CGC 10 perfect Alakazam. That is insane to me. So I didn't look at the back of it because, of course, on those Instagram posts that they make, they never show the back of the card. There's like, it's perfect card. What do you need to see the back for? It's like CGC, I need to see. But yeah, I definitely think that that being said, regardless of what you think about PSA versus BGS versus CGC, the grading cost is $13.50. It is insane how low that is compared to even the $30 that PSA just opened up. And to be honest, if you look a lot of the prices, if you can snag a 9.5 on CGC instead of a 9 or an 8.5, which is what you would used to get back in the old standards, you're doing better than getting a 9 from PSA, and you're getting your cards back in much sooner. And so as like someone who's looking to kind of get in and out of a card as a evil flipper reseller, you know, just trying to turn some of your valuable binder collection that you're putting on Facebook, putting on Instagram, and nobody's really biting for because everybody's trying to sell their raw collections right now. If you get a couple of 10s, if you get a couple of 9.5s, I've just been throwing them up on auction on eBay because once again, I don't want to say anything that anyone can't replicate tonight because a lot of people might be saying, oh, you're an evil whatnot seller. You could just deal with your junk slabs and throw them on your whatnot account, which I do once in a while sell slabs on my whatnot, but I'm much more of a pack breaker than I am like a slab seller. And so I put my slabs on eBay and I auction them off that way. So very replicable and something you can do. And I've found that 9.5s go for a premium over 9s in PSA, which is insane to me. And this is no subgrades either. So yeah, that's something I've been seeing and something I would highly recommend that if you have the time, like you said, it's something that you do have to put a little more time in. It's definitely worth it if you have the time and expertise to really learn the scale of how cards are graded. But I think that you mentioned a really good point, though. The fact of the matter is it's something that you really have to be dedicated with. You have to put in the time and effort to actually know what you're looking for. Being able to source those deals is important as well. But a lot of what I'm also talking about, it could be replicated with a regular binder collection. So I do want to say that if you are out there and you have a little hesitancy about grading, it's pretty cheap to put together like a submission to CGC. If you do it bulk submission, cheap, I want to say cheap is going to be, it's not cheap for everyone because a bulk submission has to be 50 cards or more. And so you do have to put a submission of at least 50 cards together. And just the fees alone will cost you about $750 for that. So that is not cheap for everyone. So I guess it is a little bit, it may not be as easy as I'm making it sound to send a big submission into CGC. So I apologize if it's being a little bit, disingenuous. But I will say, though, that once you take that first step and once you take that, you save up that $750 for the grading fees and you have your 50 card submission of cards that were just sitting in your binder and you finally go to sell those cards, if you actually do well and you actually get some 9s, 9.5s, and man, if you get a 10, that's 100, 150 bucks, 200 bucks, depending on the card that you sent in. We're talking about dollar cards here, chat. We're talking about like cards that are bulky, as modern as they come. Like you can send the bulkiest cards in to CGC. And the name of the game here, chat, it's not just sending everything. You have to be picky. You have to send popular Pokemon in. Like you're talking about evolutions, you're talking about the starters, Bulbasaur, Squirtle, Charmander, the main Kanto starters. You're talking about, the big boys. You got to send those Pokemon in. It helps if the population's a little lower, but the population doesn't have to be low for something to sell. Like this card right here, this card is graded I believe in a 10. It's hundreds. There are hundreds of these in the 10 population report for CGC. And CGC 10s are supposedly hard to get. It still sells for over $100. And it's pretty insane. Oh man, I'm seeing the chat here for the first time. I apologize, chat. I'm gonna pull it up here, but
so let's take the legendary birds card, okay? So just like break it down for everyone.
Yeah.
So just kind of give what you paid, what it, the entire grading cost of what it costs to ship it there, with the insurance, whatever they charge at CGC. I'm not familiar with CGC, and then, what it actually sells for now and all that. Kind of give the whole background, like on just like a card like that, to give an average for someone.
Yeah, so a card like that is a great example. And this is one that I think that is a great one to use because it's something that you could literally go out and do. And it's like me saying this is not going to be giving away any secret at all. You could grade 100 more of these and it wouldn't put a dent in the population and there would still be enough demand. This is like that Charizard from, Champion's Path. So this is simply a case study of demand. But this is probably a $7 to $10 card. If you want to buy this sealed in the little promo pack that came straight out of the ETB, still with the plastic and everything, which is exactly what I pulled this card out of, it would cost you about $7 to $10 probably, especially if you bought it in bulk. Like say you got it in a big lot, like a binder collection, say you maybe bought it in on Facebook or Instagram or someone was just dumping, which is happening quite a bit right now. You can get it for even cheaper than that. But then once you've got maybe 10 of them, you're in maybe $100, maybe less after the shipping and everything for 10 of these sealed promos. You then take those 10 cards and you don't even have to take them out of the sealed package. What you want to do is you want to look at those 10 cards just in the back and see what the centering looks like. And if the centering looks really good, then you could take them out of the package and you could do another examination. And so then you're in $10 for the card. You're in a few minutes looking at the card. And then you have a raw card that's either good enough that you think has a chance at getting sent for a 9.5 or more, or you have a card that's maybe not worth taking out of the plastic and you can set it aside. And I personally think this is a cool card that in time people will especially want. So I wouldn't take this and resell it right away and lose money on what you just made. I would throw this in, a little stack somewhere and keep it for later times. But you could absolutely just recoup your money after you took the better copies off. So then you're in the card for about $10. CGC, it costs about $150 to get a premium elite membership account. Now, what the elite membership account gives you is it's $250. It's $150 for the second tier, which is like the premium. But the $250 gives you a $150 credit. So it's $150 off to use towards your grading fee. And it gives you 10% off of all of their grading fees. So then you're in $250 for your CGC grading submission for your membership there. You're in about $10 per card for, let's say, 10 of these. So you're in $100. So that's $350. So I did that, and I only sent 5 cards to CGC. After I did that, I had 10 of them. I sent my best 5 to CGC. I got 3 pristine 10s and 2 9.5s on those 5. That is not something that you should expect. That's something I've graded hundreds of cards. I know what to look for. It's not something you should expect, but it's something you could absolutely do if you're extremely harsh on your cards and you send the right cards in. And so we're talking $13.50 for the grading fee. Okay. $10 for the card. I had to find 5 of them. So $50 for all 5. So roughly roughly $200 for just these cards. And plus all the other cards I sent in were extra though. So you're talking a couple $100 just for these 5 cards, basically, to send the best off. And I got 3 10s. Do you think I'm not going to sell these for at least a couple $100? 3 pristine 10s. So the 9.5s, those sell for roughly $30 to $50, depending on the auctions. And then buy it now, they sell for closer to 40. And so those are just, just unload the 9.5s because it's just extras. Whereas the 10 is selling for over $100. And so it's just one of those things that I think you can do it 1,000 times too, because this is not something that's like a rare card. This is not rare by any means. This is one of the most printed cards, ever. So there are many cards like that. And I mean, this Pikachu is another example. These cards are like $2 on TCG Player near mint, maybe $1.50. This is the promo from the Celebration box. People love Pikachu. It's a pretty tough grade. If you buy enough of them, you get a couple good ones. The card sells for $150. It's a $2 card that sells for $150. I'm not good at math, chat. You do the math on that. Is that good? I'm not sure. So that's the play to be made with grading, but it is not it's something that you can do if you're not really dedicated, if you're not looking in the time. So like that would be something that I would say is something that for someone who's just looking to get into grading, it's a great option. Now PSA just lowered to $30. And there is a play, I think, to be made for PSA in the long term because their $30 grading, that's not going to start getting graded until their backlog is dealt with. So that's a little caveat that people don't talk about as much with the new PSA $30 submissions is they have to deal with the whole backlog before they deal with any of these new submissions.
Yeah, and if anyone hasn't graded before, so my last submission that I finally just got back from PSA a couple months ago, obviously I sent it in like over a year and a half ago, and I was so far under, cost on it because I was picking all these. That was back when I was still buying, singles, still buying collections, still buying lots. And so I had maybe like $700 in total in the raw cards. And then I sent my last order I sent them was like 72 cards. So it was like, $760 after the shipping and insurance. So basically I was in, a little over $1,000. All right. At the height during the boom, those were worth like around $13,000-$14,000 what they're graded at now. Now they fell back to like, 7,000, depending on how much I get. But the fact of the matter is, it's like you're still talking about hundreds of percent returns if you understand how to get into raw cards at the right prices. Now, this does take expertise. It does take knowledge. If you have never graded before, I would just stress to like, even if you can't afford the membership, you can't do it. Maybe you do want to use a middleman. Maybe you do want to do something like that. But I would just stress everyone to at least try it once. Like try looking at a card, write down your grades on a piece of paper, put it away. And then when you get them back, see how close you were, just to get an idea of how to pre-grade cards, because that's the biggest thing is being able to get online, really blow up pictures, see what everything looks like. Or, like he was saying, is you can take those kind of strategic risks. And even if you go on TCG Player where you can't see the actual card, but it's near mint, you want to buy 10, 20 of them, the chances are, they're going to have some good cards. The chances are you are going to get some 9.5s and 10s just by sheer average. And so you can always take that route as well. But the last thing he said is very important. So like I told you, from the time I sent them in, through the spike and then after the spike, the market can shift depending on how the turnaround time. So with CGC having low turnaround times, you take a lot less risk of the market shifting while your cards are in there. Because if you send it to PSA and it sits there months and months and months, you don't know what's going to happen in these months, especially in the times we're in with a recession and all this. I mean, it could get to the point where you get those 8s and 9s back. And by that time, the market shifted so much that you're actually upside down. And that can happen. So you want to make sure those things and the lower turnaround times, that just gives you that much less risk, to have to deal with. So yeah, I like everything you're saying. CGC was just kind of coming up around the time I stopped doing all this. So I haven't put the time to compare all these CGC grades to the PSA grades and know what's better to send where, what's better to hold or sit on. And so that's why I think you're better to talk on this than I am, because I just don't have the experience. And I don't like to talk on things that I don't have the knowledge on. And so that's why I'm glad you're kind of bringing this up, because anyone out there wanting to know how to do this, it's really helping them. So
Well, it's just one of those things that I think is available to people. And I think it's one of those things that's also a little bit intimidating sometimes, like grading your own cards. And especially if you look at the cost of just like grading one card at a time, it gets very cost prohibitive because you're talking $30 to grade one card. And then you have to pay the shipping for that one card. And it's 2 weeks. By the time you get it back, it's really not worth it. But if you're sending bulk, and this is kind of one of the things that I grew up learning, and I grew up in a household that went to Costco, that bought everything in bulk. We had to, we didn't buy one thing at a time. We bought everything in bulk. And so that's kind of where my mind goes, is like always to kind of get that bulk discount when you can, especially when you're talking about trying to make money in something. You want to get your cost basis down as low as you can. That's something I hear a lot of other YouTubers talk about, is like cost basis, cost basis, cost basis. And it's very important. And so a lot of the plays that I'm able to make, I try to be able to, it's one of those things that like, it really matters your cost basis. I wouldn't make the same plays I'm making if I wasn't able to get certain things for a low enough cost basis. And so like, I personally am not I don't crack a lot of product for myself. I crack it for other people because I personally think that there's a lot that goes into opening sealed product that's risky, and I don't like high risk like that. I like to think about a little bit more low risk, high reward, but that's a little harder to find, I guess. And so like, I personally, I don't advocate opening a lot of sealed product, but I do buy a lot of singles from people who did open a lot of sealed product, because I recognize that there are a lot of people who just want the experience. Once they have those sealed cards, they don't want nothing to do with them. They have their cards or their singles, they've got them in their binder, they never look at them again. They just put them in a top loader, put them in the binder, and forget about them. So I know that a lot of people interact with the hobby that way. So it's just different ways to interact, right? I do think that right now, there are a lot of good plays to be made for like that long-term speculator plays, as well as the grading play. Because even if you don't have a lot of money and a lot of time to put into like grading and flipping, because let's be real, that's time consuming. Like I spend my whole life doing this, basically. That's not an exaggeration. It's really not. And so like, even if you didn't want to do that, I think that there's still good plays to be made, like in the speculating, because like there are great sets. Like Evolving Skies is about to get reprinted, and they're going to hit it with the biggest reprint hammer I think we have ever seen. Like, I am ready for a huge Evolving Skies reprint. I'm ready for it to drop down to 100. I'm ready for that pessimism to happen. It's going to happen, man. It's going to happen. I was right there with you. I was shaking my head too, until just a couple of weeks ago. I saw all the Evolving Skies are putting in these new 10s, these new products. They have a lot of it, and I'm ready for that irrational pessimism to surround the best set from Sword and Shield era until the last set. They're going to save the last set for a banger, but
so I don't even own an Evolving Skies booster box. I missed it. It ran away without me. Okay.
One left.
So this is coming from someone who, I'm not trying to protect my investment. I don't have any. I do still have some Elite Trainer boxes. I did sell some, but I do still have a couple cases of Elite Trainer boxes. And so those could fall. But I'm talking about the booster boxes. I don't see it. I don't see it. I've had a couple people already tell me that the distributors are actually going to be selling them at a higher price. And I don't see them falling past maybe like 120s, 130s. I think that's going to be the bottom. That's just what I'm saying. Could be wrong. That's what I'm throwing out there, though.
I would like this prices to stay high, because I'll be buying them at distributor prices. So the prices staying high and it not tanking is going to be good because I can sell them for higher at that point. But
you got distributor pricing yet?
For my distributor, I'm getting it for $90. He's not raising the price on the Evolving Skies for me. So I have a smaller distributor though, and so there are hundreds of distributors in the United States. A lot of the big guys, they use like Southern Hobby or A&M or whatever the different bigger distributors are. I don't use the bigger ones though. I have a smaller distributor, so my numbers are a little bit different than the normal numbers are. So though the Evolving Skies is going to get a large reprint though, and there's so much of that in all of the product that I am ready, because also it's going to come right on the heels of the Pokemon Go and the new set. That reprint's going to come out right around the same time. Brilliant Stars is going to get a reprint, I believe, around that time. Hasn't been announced, but I believe Brilliant Stars will also. And so you remember what happened the last time we got that big reprint wave when people were actually required to take those reprints. It was the Fusion Strike, Evolving Stars. This is January. Those prices dropped down to $100. We saw that irrational pessimism, and we weren't even in a bear market too much right then. It was still, I would say, a really bullish market. Dude, we're in a bear market. Like, I need to put on my bear hat. Like, this is, even though I just sold a $2,000 card today. Like, I just sold this bad boy for $2,000. We are in a bear market right now. Okay. So I don't know if I think that it can hold the prices above 144 after the reprint hammer, because Pokemon Center still has it up there. You know, it's still up there. The single packs are. And that's a big floor price. Like, if they still have it on the website and we get a reprint, it's going to go well below that MSRP. It's going to go like 120, 110. And I do believe it'll shift to that 100. I think you'll be able to get it for 600 a case. Dude, I saw a Battle Styles booster case go for $425 on eBay the other day.
Yeah, if you're watching auctions, you can get some crazy deals, and it's crazy. Like, you'll see an auction like that, then you'll see like the same day sometimes, or the next day, like one sell, buy it now for like, $100 and something more. It's crazy. It'll be interesting to see. Hey, I'll love it. Like I said, I'd love to be able to get in some Evolving Skies at $100. Like I said, I don't have a dog in this fight. I don't own any Evolving Skies booster boxes. So yeah, I'd love to see that. I just don't see it. That's all I'm saying. I mean, I think Alex, 120, 130s is going to be reasonable.
Mark my words, Alex. Mark my words. If it hits $100, hey, everyone in the chat right now, how many of you guys at $100 would buy all the Evolving Skies you can at $100? Just in the chat, give me a thumbs up. A quick thumbs up. Everyone's going to give you a thumbs up right now. You buy $100 Evolving Skies. Come back and talk to me in 2 months from now when it's $100. I want a screenshot, and I want to see how many of you guys actually buy it when it hits there. Because tell me this hasn't happened before. You tell me when Vivid Voltage was $180. You remember when it's $200, $220. People were screaming. They would buy. They're like, I don't care. If it goes to 120, 140, I just want retail. I will buy it until my retirement account is drained. Okay? What's Vivid Voltage at right now, Alex? Can you tell me what Vivid Voltage booster boxes are right now? It's like 120, right?
No, I think they're 130. They're in the 130s.
It was drifted a little bit. Okay, so is it MSRP yet? And have those people, do they still have their retirement accounts? We're probably 20% less now, but you see my point, though. Do you see my point? It's very
different. Up on that 2-year period. I think we're due for a little movement here soon.
I would like to think that, but I just know how fickle the market is. And I know that when things are high, everyone likes to say that they would buy. But then when the opportunity to buy comes, nobody goes and buys. So it's one of those things that's a very like you've talked about on your channel with UPCs. Like, for the longest time, UPCs, I was selling them for $200, $225. In the case when I could buy them from my distributor, because my distributor was selling them to me for close to 200 or 175. And so, like, if I could sell a whole case for $225 each, so $900, I would just go to my distributor, buy, and then sell during that time period. I only sold 3 cases. And you might think that's a lot of cases. Like, that's a lot. That's 12 UPCs. I didn't see a single UPC on my Target shelf. But this, you have to understand, this is a distributor, and it's just straight up, that was the market. And I'm sure at the same time, you could go on eBay and buy them for $230 or $240. So, like, the market is really, really fickle. And that's why I say, mark my words, in 2 months from now, when Evolving Skies is $100 a booster box, I'm pretty sure I'm going to be the only one buying. Maybe you, Alex, you might be the only one buying too, because I remember in the Discord that I am in the paywall Discord I am in, the Pokemon paywall Discord, I was screaming at the top of my lungs in January about Evolving Skies when it was $100 a booster box. I was ridiculed, not in a bad way. Like, I love all these people. They're like, haha, yeah, old, you're a modern shill. All you do is break modern. That's all you care about. So whatever. But I was basically ridiculed for saying, hey, Evolving Skies, $600 a case, not bad. But at that time, nobody wanted anything modern because everything was reprinted and everything was like, printed to oblivion and all that stuff. So So it's one of the things that if you believe in something, if you really like it, you probably shouldn't listen to what other people say, even if, maybe everyone's saying one thing. One of the things I learned with investing or with life in general was like when I started listening to that little voice, in my head that's telling me like what I want to do and actually not saying, no, you're crazy. When I started listening to like my own intuition, it was crazy how much like I realized that I wasn't unique. I wasn't special. Like when I want like what everyone else wants, like I'm very normal. And I'm pretty sure that you watching on the other side there, you're probably pretty normal too. Like most of us human beings, we want the same things. And so like learning to not doubt yourself and just kind of trust yourself for me has gotten really, really has been beneficial for those like trusting my intuition, So I guess that's just going off on a whole nother tangent, but
yeah, no, let's bring that into the whole I think kind of is a good segue into the whole making money in Pokemon and why it's kind of seen as, taboo, or you shouldn't talk about it, or it's wrong or whatever it may be. And I think this is a perfect way to go into that, because what about the people who do buy when everything's down and no one wants it and it's not seen as a buy? And then, the sentiment changes and Evolving Skies does go up to 180 a box. And then those people, sell it at that. Why is that wrong? Why is it wrong for those people to take those gains? Those, like you talk about, those cards, they're all over the market. All those cards you showed, anyone can buy them. Anyone can grade them. It's open to anybody. These aren't, rare vintage cards that only the, select few can afford or have. You're talking about $2, $3, $5, $10 cards. Anyone can do it. Anyone can get a CG membership, send them in. Anyone can get the returns. Anyone can make an eBay page or list them or get an Instagram. And so why is it wrong for that person to put in the time, the effort, the work to make money? If someone's willing to pay $100 to not do that work, to get that slab, to get that guaranteed 10 and not take that risk, then it shouldn't be wrong for that person to make, 50, 70% gains for the chances of the risk that he did take. And at the same time, if you enjoy the market a different way, like you're a collector, I would never jump all over collector and, tell them, oh, you're an idiot. That's stupid. You shouldn't buy that card. It's not going to go up in value. That's the worst decision you ever made. They don't care. They're collecting. Where at the same time, you shouldn't jump over anyone who made a bad decision investing. They saw, cases of battle styles, going up. And now it's down. Maybe they're stagnant. Maybe it hasn't moved a lot. But you shouldn't jump all over them for that, because hey, they're doing what they like to do. They're trying to make money in the market. They want to play the market. They're trying to invest. And when things do work out, you should be happy for them. When things don't work out, you shouldn't jump all over them. And I think there's just this turmoil in the market. I don't know why that is. I don't know why it became wrong to make money in Pokemon when it's okay to make money in literally any other type of business. So why do you think there is that tension of making? And one last thing to add before you talk is, if anyone thinks about like even back in the playground, or maybe not the playground, it might be a little different. You maybe just traded based on what you like. But nowadays, even if kids in card shops, right, they're looking up, values of those cards on eBay or TCG Player. They're saying, oh, you want to trade, your Charizard and your Blastoise for my Lugia and Venusaur and this. Okay, well, that's about, $22 in value. You got about 18. Just throw in one more card and we'll make a trade. Like, the values are always there, whether there's dollars exchange, whether you're flipping for profit, you're buying sealed, you're buying, PSA cards. The value's always there, whether it's a trade, whether it's a kid, whether it's an adult, whether you're making money or breaking even. And so I don't know why there's this push to like take value and take money out of Pokemon. What do you think about all that?
Yeah, and I personally, I think that the first thing I tell people to do when they come to my channel, the number one thing you hear me say the most is sell your cards. Like the best possible thing you can do in this hobby is to just let go a little bit and just sell some of your cards and see what it's like, because it will allow you to get more cards and then enjoy the hobby in new and exciting ways and evolve. We'll use a little Pokemon term there. And so I definitely think that there is there's like that the benefit to selling just because you can improve your collection, but there's also the rush of it, the fun of it. Like when I personally get a lot of fun out of like looking for deals and then like buying something really cheap and then maybe making a sale and then flipping into something a little bit bigger, a little bit better, and you kind of upgrade and upgrade and upgrade. Nobody starts off, you don't start off having a Urza's Saga booster box. That's hey, shout out to my favorite Magic set of all time. That's a booster box up there. Anyone who likes Magic the Gathering, you have to flip into that. And so you have to be a dirty, evil, flipper, scalper, scummy reseller before you can just throw $10,000 at something you really love like that. Like, am I ever going to sell that thing? Hell no. Is that eating up $10,000 plus of my capital right now? Yes, it is. But am I a collector boy with that? Sure. So there are things that I think that are benefit to selling. And so, yeah, I'm going to plug my Cardboard Hands podcast here, because I have a podcast that I have titled Cardboard Hands, as a little play on that whole diamond hands, paper hands thing. So I don't have diamond hands, nor do I have paper hands. I, in this hobby, like to say I have cardboard hands, because I will buy and sell. I'll keep some things for a little while. It's kind of in between the two, right? It's not quite paper, it's not quite diamond. I'll let things go when I need to let things go, but it's about really enjoying the hobby and enjoying the thing you love. So going back to why I think, so this does tie into why I think people get so...
Hey, you're going full transformer on us. The internet's breaking.
So upset about buying and selling and this hobby so much.
You went Megatron on us, man.
Yeah, we'll be back here. Sorry about that.
Your voice is back. The picture is not. The video.
We'll be back from the...
Here, go ahead and fix that. I'll take over until you fix it.
We good?
Yeah.
Hopefully the picture will smooth out here. It says I have connection, so I apologize. My Wi-Fi is horrible right now. But yeah, I do for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you're back. You're back.
Okay. So I apologize. Yeah, my router is just like, I had to raise it up a little bit. Maybe that'll help a bit. But yeah, I do think that a little bit of what we're seeing, that whole like that irrational like negativity towards selling and letting go of things, it came a little bit because people love this stuff so much, and it is so tied to nostalgia in our childhood. It's one thing if it's like you're selling a stock where you're not really tied to it, right? But it's a whole nother thing when you're like selling something that you love, and say if I had this item and I was talking about selling an item, and say you own the same item and you would never sell that item, maybe it offends you a little bit that I would let it go. I don't know, that irrationality comes from. But also in the last couple of years, we saw a lot of really bad things happen in the hobby as far as like buying out, scalping, like a lot of like really, really visceral things that happened to what I think the hobby hadn't seen in a long time. And so I think there's a lot of that fallback from what happened last couple of years. Because I think back to that Frosted Carabao video that came out, the one where she made the video talking about how like, everything was being bought out and the collectors couldn't enjoy it, and what about the kids and all this stuff. But it really did touch on whether you feel one way or the other about that video, because I didn't like that video because I didn't agree with it. It's not that I didn't like the video. I appreciate her opinion, but it's just I didn't agree with the take. But whether you thought one way or the other, that video really did hit a nerve in the community, and it sparked this huge, like this big battle almost. And I still feel like there's a fallout coming from that, and people are kind of healing. The wounds are healing. So now I think that we're in a bit more of a stabilization period. I feel a little bit better about that situation, but like I haven't been called a scalper in far too long here. So that's the thing. That's how I know we're in a down market, is I have not been called a scalper in way too long, guys. Hashtag call old card shop a scalper in the chat here, because I'm starting to lose my touch.
I don't know why the money thing. I mean, I do know why. I know it's sensitive to about money, but I mean, everyone, unless you're a multimillionaire or you just don't care about money at all, it always comes to a factor, right? Because money is how much you can afford of what you want to collect. And like, I'm sure a lot of people, I know I did, I know, Dan Ketchum Collectibles talks about starting out with, I think it's like $5,000 or 500. I forget what the number is, but I mean, I know when I started out, I literally me and my friend were literally realizing, hey, if we just buy more of the thing we want, we can keep the actual thing we want for free just by buying and selling. So it was like I could find, lots of like 10 base set packs, and then I could sell 7 of them, recoup all the money, and be able to keep the 3 one of each artwork for free. And like, it was that type of thing that I was building my collection off. Like we were opening, first edition fossil boxes. We were opening the heavy packs, grading the hollows. We were selling the light packs, selling the bulk. And then we were able to keep a lot of the hollows for our collection for free just by doing some work of moving stuff around. And I think it's how a lot of people build their collections, is based off, buying and selling and flipping or whatever you want to call it. But it's a way to build your collection. It's a way to kind of build inventory. And it just takes a little work. So I just don't think it needs to be a negative. There doesn't need to be a negative connotation added to kind of the finances of Pokemon. I get people, if you're out there, if you're a collector and you don't want to hear about, the return on investment on, modern sealed product over X amount of time, or, see these charts and all this data about how, PSA cards or how sealed product has performed. I get that. But at the end of the day, I'm sure you still want to know, when, the best time is to get it on products, how to get the best prices, how to get the most of your collection for the least amount of money. I think that's pretty much universal in Pokemon, whether you're an investor or a collector. And so I think that's why it's still important to talk about, even if you don't want to dive deep into the numbers and know all the analytics and all the ins and outs. So I would just like to kind of not, to stop demonizing the term, like making money or talking about financial value of cards in Pokemon, because at the end of the day, they have to have some of a value. If they didn't have a value, we'd all just be kind of giving away to free to each other, right? Just there'd be no reason to hold anything. So I don't know. I don't know how to fix it. I think, some people are just going to have a negative connotation attached to money in Pokemon all the time. And I think there's going to be the other side of things where people are going to take it too far, and it's almost like they don't care about the cards at all, and it's really just finances. So, I think somewhere obviously is always a middle ground, but yeah, I don't know how to fix it. I really don't.
Yeah, it's a weird thing. It's definitely a weird thing that there's this, like, it's okay sometimes, but it's not other times to buy and sell. But yeah, I would hope that we can kind of squash that. And like I said, kind of we alluded to, I don't think there's a lot of that in the hobby right now. Like, I haven't been called a scalper in a long time. I used to get called it probably once a week on my streams, just from like selling cards, and they'd go high. I sell in auctions. Everything starts at $1. So I have no control over any of the prices of anything, but I would still get called a scalper, right? But that doesn't happen anymore. And I do feel like the community is healing a little bit and they're maturing. I do want to say that I feel like the Pokemon community, with as many people have gotten into it, and now as much money is invested into it, because before maybe some people were investing in it, but it was far less common for people to be like investing in Pokemon. Now there's so much more money involved that there's a reason why so many more people are like invested in it, not just financially, but they're emotionally invested in it. It's because they're also financially invested in it too. So it's just differing times. And with that many people who are financially and emotionally invested more so, I do think I'm still pretty bullish on the hobby. Like, even though I'm sitting here screaming bear market and I'm saying Evolving Skies is going to be $100, that doesn't mean that I don't think it's the best set in Sword and Shield era. And I'm not going to buy the hell out of it if it happens. And hell, I'm not going to be upset if it doesn't happen. But I'm just trying to sort of give a scenario that I haven't really heard a lot of people say, because everyone's so bullish on that. It's like there's also a scenario.
You're going out again, man.
I think could happen with Evolving as the reprint happens, and so we may see what's going on with my internet, because my Wi-Fi is just horrible.
Went full transformer again. Yeah, I mean, hey, everyone in the chat, what do you guys think? I mean, I know this is I have a Pokemon finance channel, so it's kind of unfair, but I think most people here are okay with, the fact that obviously we are trying to make positive returns on our investments or collections, or at least at the very least, wanting to get in, our collectibles at the lowest possible cost to us, right? So, if there are collectors out there that watch this channel that really just don't want to think about investing, I mean, I know I talked about other people in the past. I don't want to call any names, but I don't think there's anything wrong with that. But at the same time, I'm sure they're shopping around. I'm sure they're, waiting for deals. I'm sure they, buy and sell things to further their collection. And, especially when it comes to grading, if you're really wanting a 10, and maybe, so let's say, hypothetical situation, let's say a CGC or a PSA 10 is worth $250, right? And you can pick up those raw cards between $10 and $20, okay? And you want to pick up 10 of them, send them all in and get graded. After the grading cost and everything's all said and done, maybe it costs you $150, $200. And so basically where you'd be, if you got 110, it'd be worth it for you to just go do all that work, keep the 10, sell the rest off, recoup more money, and you'd be ahead than just buying the 10. So it always makes sense to know the numbers, know the analytics, know the financials, even if you don't want to dive deep down, even if it isn't your cup of tea, it isn't your passion to know all the statistics, know the charts, know all the analytics. It still pays to know them just to make your money stretch as far as possible, right? So, I don't want to harp on it too much. I have a Pokemon investing channel. I've been called out before, saying I don't really care about the cards. I don't care about the finances. And it's obviously not true. When I got back into this hobby, I didn't even know about Pokemon and finance in the same sentence. So, it really comes down to what your goals are and what your financial situation is. I think most people's financial situations is pretty much the same, as in you don't have an endless amount of money to spend on Pokemon. So the amount of money you do have, you want it to go as far as possible. Now that may be 20 or 30 bucks, that may be a few hundred, that may be a few thousand, that may be tens of thousands. At the end of the day, though, you still want that to go as far as possible. So it still makes sense to kind of know a little bit about what you're buying before moving into the items. That's all I'm trying to say. I think you're back. Say something. Guess he's not back.
Yeah, are you better now? Am I a little bit in? Oh my, I'm sorry. I've reset the router. So I'm transforming still.
No, it's not as bad now.
Okay. I do want to talk about knowing the market a little bit more, because I think that is a good segue into what I think is the most interesting topic of the night that just happened yesterday. And it's the vintage trophy market and the high-end sealed market. I would love to talk about your take on what just happened at the heritage auctions last night. Did you catch any of that? Was I still roboting or?
No, you're good. I know the first edition base box went for what, 200,000, I want to say.
Yes, and so the 200,000 was about the cost. I think that was before buyer's premium. I'm not entirely sure for the first edition base set box. I don't know what the exact number for buyer's premium is. That's such a boomer concept, the buyer's premium that these auction houses do. I have no idea what that even means. It's just extra money that they add on top, basically, because they're trying to squeeze more, wring out every little bit from their customers. So, which is, in my opinion, terrible, terrible business practice. But that being said, it went for a lot lower than the last sale. Last sale was closer to like 325, I think. Correct me if I'm wrong on that.
I mean, I know ZNG, he sold his in the 300s. I mean, he was public about that. So, I mean, I know there were sales up there.
So that was during the boom. But I mean, more publicly, there was actually a public auction in the last 6 months for, I think it was on like PWCC or Heritage or one of those ones. I think it went for over 300. It was closer to like 325, I believe.
So I didn't see the box. Was the box in good shape? Everything was all up and up, no dents, no rips. It was a good shape box. $200,000.
I could see. I didn't see all of the box. The front of the box looked just like any other base set box I could tell. Probably had GI Joe in it. I don't know. To be honest, I personally think that PSA and some grading company is really dropping the ball by not authenticating sealed product in some way, or offering some sort of like, I don't know, anything. That just seems like a really big missed opportunity, and also a irresponsible. I mean, as someone in a forefront in the hobby, PSA, somebody needs to come up and step up and say, hey, we're going to be the responsible ones here, and start taking some of this anxiety and taking it out. But I don't know how they would even do that. So maybe it's asking too much.
Well, especially with those old products, right? I mean, a first edition box, it's got clear wrap. I honestly, I don't know. I mean, I feel like I'm an expert. I mean, I've had a lot of WotC boxes. Okay. I mean, I've had a lot of WotC boxes in my time. I'd have a hard time, I think, if I had it in front of me, telling you with 100% certainty that I know this is a legitimate box. I mean, I can be 99% sure, but I just don't know if grading companies want to put their stamp of approval on it because of the risk factor. I mean, sure, if you start out with, modern boxes, they don't care about taking a few $100 risk. But it's about taking, hundreds of thousands of dollars in risk. It becomes a whole different story, right?
Yeah.
There you go.
Like, this is something that I'm sure that if you didn't know anything about this box, it would be a really, really tough thing to want to purchase, for sure. But yeah, no, it's hard to say. I've had this box for a while, but it's hard to say like how you would go into authenticating the box without actually opening it up, because you can still fake those seals. Like, even though I'm confident on that box and I would be confident selling boosters from it, opening it up live, doing a live break, everything, I still, until you crack the seal, I still don't know if there's really a way that you can tell it's real. You know what I mean? Because I've seen some really good resales out there. So it's one of those things that I feel like there needs to be someone in the hobby, and whether that means PSA needs to take their little scissors and they need to crack the box, open it up, and then tape it back and say, we checked inside, and then put it in a box and put an authentic on it and say, hey, if you crack this open, it is not authentic, but we have authenticated everything in this little plastic box, and it has their label on it or something. But I don't know. That's just something I would think. But would people even want that? Like, as a sealed collector, would you even want that?
Well, I mean, I know the word expert gets thrown around a lot. No one wants to, say anyone's an expert. But let's just all agree. I think we can all agree that TCG Gaming, Rusty's, as close to an expert as you can get in Pokemon. I would call him an expert. Even he had to open his box to make sure. And he sold it. I mean, Logan Paul bought it, right? And it had the sticker on it and everything. I mean, even he had to do it. If Rusty can't tell, I don't think anyone else out there can. I mean, maybe Gary, maybe like a Scott. I don't know. But I mean, if Rusty couldn't tell, let's be honest, who can? And so, the other thing that goes into that is, sure, you can handle as many as you want. You can go through, but I mean, at some point, right, the technology's out there to do that printing, to make that seal, to put those Wizards logo on it. So who's to say that someone else with a printing company cannot do that? Like, who's to say? I mean, in the future, this could get really ugly because, I mean, as far as I'm concerned, in this day and age, 2022, anything's duplicable. I mean, anything can be duplicated. And I mean, even like, the whole like video, like the deep fakes type thing where you can basically fake someone's whole entire appearance on camera now. And so it's like, we're reaching a really scary time. And I'd be very scared to put my stamp of approval on anything. And one more point of that, I talked about it before, my huge sale I made to Troll and Toad before in the past. That was the most underwhelming, underrated authenticity check I've ever seen in my life. I mean, it was literally, it was like this. It was, okay. That's how quick it was. On tens of thousands of dollars of WotC booster boxes. I mean, it's just like, it blew my mind. I mean, me and my friend talked about it afterwards on the drive home. Like, how easy would it have been to fake those boxes and how fast they checked them, right? I mean, we probably could have faked, all those boxes and had twice the sale. I mean, and so, yeah, it really comes down to really being comfortable enough to believe enough in your mind that when you sell that product is authentic, and then that buyer being comfortable enough in their mind to look at it and say, yeah, I accept this is real. I'm going to put it on my shelf. It's now in my collection. So yeah, just it's scary times. It's scary times.
Yeah, and that's one of the big benefits of buying from someone like Rusty TCG Gaming is that if you can buy from someone where the provenance of the box can be traced back to like the first owner, like who it came from, and there's no doubt as far as its authenticity, you can probably justify paying a little bit more for something like that. So yeah, I can see why someone like that would exist. But even Rusty has said that he wouldn't authenticate boxes. So I think it's incredible. And it doesn't surprise me that nobody's stepped up. But it is sort of, it feels like it's something that's a big void in the hobby. And it needs to be filled by somebody somewhere, sometime. But
yeah. Yeah, I just, I guess someone might be able to find out a way, or someone might be able to take that risk. I mean, I think there's a ton of money in it. I think a lot of sealed product would be sent in. Hey, maybe there's a business opportunity for you.
But authenticity aside, the main thing that I wanted to talk about was the fact that not just that it went for lower than anything else went that I'd ever seen a base set box go in a long, well, not ever, but in a long time that I've seen a base set first edition box go for. It's the narrative that was surrounding the high-end vintage and the trophy cards that I think in this last auction was somewhat squashed. I think there was a lot of narrative in the last 6 months or the last 4 months, maybe even the last 2 or 3 months, that like, while Modern was taking a really big hit recently, a lot of things in Modern took a hit. It was vintage that was going these high-end, the best, the top-end tier trophy market, that was never going to take a hit because, the rich, the ultra-rich, they don't care. But I think we saw in this last market that when everything gets hit, when markets get hit, one particular aspect of the market is not sheltered from that. And that's not me saying that trophy cards aren't good. It's just me saying that all those people posturing, saying that there's no way that high-end vintage can like do the same thing that everything else is doing. It might have just been a little bit of posturing. That's all.
Yeah, I think we're going to hear a lot about this on, coming up on a lot of streams and a lot of, videos. It all comes down to when things are that scarce and that rare, you have to have the right buyer. There has to be someone willing to spend that amount of money. And the people that can spend that amount of money are few and far between. And that's why it takes a lot more for, let's say, a modern card, a graded card, or a modern sealed product to crash. They can go stagnant, they can drop a little, but they usually don't crash, right? We haven't seen like a Sun and Moon or an XY box crash. Why? Because they're not at a price point so high that average people can't still afford it. And also there's still enough of them to where, there's still enough sales. They sell recently enough to where there's sales data and people, can kind of go off that. And when you have these trophy cards and these first ed boxes that never sell, or they sell privately and people want to talk about the private sales, but the regular population has no clue what the private sales actually went for because no one wants to divulge that information because everyone's so secretive, which again, that's a whole new subject that I'm so against, people being so secretive in this hobby. Like just shout it out. I mean, if you bought the box, you sold the box, just say what you bought and sold it for. But yeah, I mean, I think that's going to become more of the norm is you're going to see prices dropping if they can't find the right buyers. And if people are risky enough to just throw it at the whim of auction houses, hey, it's unless you're show bidding it, or unless you have some type of, floor in place where you're a reserve in place, you could take some very heavy losses. And unless you were that person, I think, kind of PK mentioned it on my live stream he was on. The people who graded it, the people who own the raw cards, they did very well. They always will. We talked about that. Grading cards, you're going to usually do well. The people who bought these, though, as investments, they bought the slabs as investments. They bought the first ed base box as an investment at whatever prices. There's a very real possibility that you could get hurt very bad when these prices start dropping, because 30% of a $150 item is $45. 30% of a $300,000 item is $90,000. And so I know I get bigger fish, take bigger risks, but yeah, it's an interesting time. I think we're finally seeing the chinks in the armor of the the creme de la creme, right?
Yeah, and it's one of those things that I think it's important to just make note of, that there's nothing that's like, it is all just fancy cardboard. It's all shiny cardboard. It's all just, things that are valued at whatever the person who's going to buy it wants to pay for it. I wouldn't mind talking about this little guy that I just sold right here, because I think it does kind of go into this whole talk right here. This card right here was a $100 card when I purchased this card. And I've held it for probably about a year to a year and a half, and I could have gotten rid of it several times along the way. But it finally sold today after long last of its long journey, and it sold for about $2,000. And I'm comfortable talking about this now because it's already paid for. It hasn't been shipped, but thanks to eBay's authenticity guarantee program, I'm not worried about it. It's been paid. I'm shipping it. It can't be returned. He can see this video, see what I paid for it, and he can watch it, and it's not a big deal. But this was a $100 card that sold for $2,000. That is not something that's like an everyday flip for me. And it's not something that would happen for, I think, a lot of people either. But the journey this card took, it wasn't straight from 0 to 2,000, okay? This was a card that went on a little bit of a journey. When I bought it, it was $100 raw. I ended up buying 2 of those copies from overseas. After tax and shipping and stuff, we're in just a little under $300 or something like that. Then I saw the 2 copies that were nice enough to grade. I sent them in and got graded. One got a 9 and one ended up getting a 10. The 9 sold for about $275, which was roughly the cost of the 2 cards. And I had one left. And this was immediately upon getting the card, sending it and grading it. It took about a month to get graded. And so that was the journey we took about maybe a year and a half ago or so with this card. So it's been on my eBay ever since that time for $3,000 up on eBay, which is ridiculous because that is not an amount of money that I expected. There's not comps on it. It's a population 5 card, I believe. I'm not entirely sure. It's something really low, below 10. And it's not something that had any comp. So why would I put it up for $3,000 when I'm not even in it for $1,000 for the card? It's simply because there were no competition and I had no reason. I didn't have to sell it. And so I just let it sit. Someone offered me immediately about $500 for that card. And that would have been a fantastic opportunity to take profits and run. And that I would have been a fool, I think, for not doing that. But I'm a fool. And so I declined the offer. And so this is probably still a year ago. Let it sit on my eBay. I've gotten several offers since then. Nothing above $1,000 though. And so I let it sit. And so a lot of this time, I think a lot of people would have sold a long time ago when you could take that much profit. And I should have sold a long time ago. But for some reason, I was thinking, why? Why not? So I ended up holding the bag because I do believe this is a bag. I believe this is a card that is not worth $2,000. I think this is a card that's worth the $100 maybe that I spent on it. Do I think it's a cool card? Hell yeah. I think it's a great card. But do I think it's a $2,000 card? Probably not. You could buy like a used Honda or something for $2,000. Like, I mean, I don't know. Not that that's a better investment or anything. That Honda, is going to break down next week, but still. My point is, though, that there's a lot of time for things where you would think it would be a good time to get out, but you kind of have to hold the line, right? And it's hard to say when you're going to make the right sale. And I wasn't public about this before because if I was public about this, then why would anyone ever pay $2,000 if you knew I paid $100 for this? So there's a reason to not be public about sales and like not post everything, right? Because it would limit your ability to maybe sell because there's no public sales to be had, no comps. Now this is a public sale though. So now anyone can go on and see an eBay last sold listing, and that's going to probably pump the value of a card like this in raw condition because there were no public sales before. But it's one of those things that it's you have to find the right buyer. And so I knew that even though I should have taken my profits long before at 500, at 875, at 1,000, anywhere along the road. Here, let me show the card just because people are asking. The card doesn't matter. The card doesn't matter. I guess the card does matter, but these still exist in raw form on eBay. But the point of the matter is that you have to hold for the right buyer. In certain high-end cards, when you have no sales data, no population, and when there's so many little people out there who actually have the money to pay for something like that, it's one of the things that you as a seller have to make the decision, and no one can tell you when the right time or wrong time is. I could have held this for 6 more months and it could go to 0. Pokemon could crash in 6 more months and I could have said no. I could have been like, I think I could get greedy and I could say I wanted more, and it could be a big risk and I could take a huge bath on it. And so it's very much about finding the right buyer for certain cards.
Well, let me ask you a question. Did you, in your listing, did you explain what that card was? Or did you did you put it in the description, like letting anyone know if it came from or what it was or the pop or anything like that? Or did you just list it?
The population I did have in the listing, it said pop 5 at the time, I believe. And I think it's still pop 5, if I'm not mistaken. But so that was the only thing. It just said what it was, the listing, and it had Pokemon in all caps. And
because it brings me back, I just have a little story. One of the first major major flips I did back in the day. Not major for today's terms, but major to me back in the day. It really, talking about finding the right buyer, it really kind of almost goes to, giving knowledge to your buyer. So back in the day, I bought a base set starter deck, display case, right? It has 8 starter decks in there. And it was the one with the no country codes on the bottom. And it didn't have the gold strips, but everything else added up. Okay. And so what I did, I listed it. I made like a 3-paragraph long explanation. I left links to sites like telling what this was and why it could have shadowless cards and your chances and all this stuff. And I paid $400 for it, and I ended up selling it for $2,800. Why? Just because I took the time to leave links to explain what it was, and I found a buyer who I had it listed for $4,000, took $2,800, but I had a buyer reach out and ask me questions about it and was really interested and say, he's a collector of like, really, the rare things of Pokemon, and like other people he wouldn't even know. Like you could have just scrolled past that and been like, oh wow, it's one of these why it's a 2,800 or $4,000 when these are 400. This is stupid. But so when you're selling one of one or these really rare items, low pops or cards like that where people really have never seen before, it helps to almost explain what they are, because you never know when that collector is going to be scrolling through who likes those rare, oddity things, and they're going to say, oh wow, let me look into this. Oh wow, he's got some links. I'm gonna go check this out. Oh, what he's saying is true. Wow, this could be a gold mine, and they're going to buy it. So there are opportunities like that out there. Again, if you have the time, if you want to put in some work, these are very real gains. Like he's still doing, this is what we're trying to say. He's still doing this today. This is still happening today. This isn't a pie in the sky. This isn't, oh, I bought this, when no one else could for a low dollar amount, but now it's worth this much. Or I found this so much under market, you can't do this now, and now it's worth this much. You can literally do this now. Like all these cards he's showing, you can do too. It just takes some little legwork, a little.
This is cheaper now on eBay than when I bought it. I think you can get it for like $88 for raw copies of this on eBay right now, than when I bought the card. So yes, absolutely replicable. And I also want to say, I wasn't dissing this. I hope nobody took that as a diss. When I was calling this a bag, when I say something's a bag, if you're a collector, it never applies to you. If you love what you're getting and what you have in your collection, the term bag, it should never apply to you. What I'm strictly speaking about is from like investment purposes. I hope the guy takes this and sells it for $4,000 if he's investing in it, but it's probably going to a collector. I don't think that someone bought this card for $2,000 and is thinking they're going to sell it for $4,000. I think it's literally going to a good home, and so probably a better home than I would give it. So I'm actually happy to be able to connect someone with that. So I just want to say that if I'm offending anyone by calling cards bags, it's not meant to be. I have cards that I definitely hold as bags. Let me show you my big bag of cards that I hold. This is one. I hold this bag.
There you go.
Yeah, so I'm a bag holder of Black Star promos. I love Black Star promos. They are so abundant. They're so cheap and abundant and vintage. It's like they've had 30 years, like almost 30, 25 plus years to go to the moon. Like, do I think that card's going to suddenly tomorrow go to the moon? And is that why I keep on buying it? Hell no. Like, I keep buying that card to fill up that binder because I love the card. Do I ever think it's going to moon? Probably not, but I just love the card. So yeah, I'm a bag holder too, just to throw it out there to the chat. Don't think that I'm not a bag holder either. I'm definitely a bag holder. So I'm right there with you guys.
Well, I talked about it earlier in the stream. I just, like I said, I just completed my Shining Legends PSA 10 Shining set. I continuously talk on my stream. On my channel so much about, hey, don't invest in PSA cards, for long-term growth. And it's just something I wanted for my collection. Like, we have those things, but at the same time, I hate this argument that you hear everywhere around Pokemon space, right? And it's any items, pick any item someone will show. There'll always be that person say, oh, well, I could buy X, Y, and Z for that amount of money. I could be in so many different items, or all these different items have moved or moved, have moved this much more than that item. And those are all ridiculous arguments because, yes, no one knows the future. No one's got a crystal ball. All right. We don't have a flux capacitor. We can't go in the future, come back and tell everyone what happened. So, yeah, there's always going to be something that you could have bought and done better in than what you have. But at the same time, there's always usually going to be something that does worse, right? And so it's like, even that card you just showed for $1,800. Yeah, I can think of a lot of things I'd rather have for $1,800. But at the same time, I'm sure it's going to also outperform other things you could have bought for $1,800 right now, right? It just always goes to that. When you start stepping up in certain categories, it just brings a whole new slew of questions. Like, you buy a $100 card and you say, wow, I could have bought all this other stuff for $100. You buy a $1,000 box. I could have bought all this other stuff. Why'd you buy that? And it's just this constant, circle. At the end of the day, hey, People are going to buy what they buy. People are going to have their own convictions on what they see moving and how they're going to spend their money. And I don't think it's anyone's kind of place to jump all over with someone and tell them all the things they could have done better with that amount of money at this time, because at the end of the day, you don't know. I don't know. So why tell them that it's a bad play? We really don't know.
That being said, it's fun to talk about, though. I do enjoy talking about those plays. So a play that I'm making right now currently is in those EV boxes that you can see in the top corner of my screen there. If anyone can see those here. I have some of these left over. These are going for like $90. Do not buy these for $90, chat. Do not buy these for $90 right now. These are very expensive and they should not be. But the singles inside of them are about $20 to $25 for the promos. You can get those raw for $20 to $25. And that's really the only reason people are buying those boxes. So really, boxes for what's inside, $50, right? At CGC, do you know what a CGC 9 of one of those promos sells for? About $40 or $50.
Okay.
And so do you know what a CGC 9.5 or a CGC like 10 of one of those sells for?
200.
Close to like $60 to $70, or a CGC 10. CGC 10, we're not even talking, we're in moon landing at that point. But like a CGC 9.5 of that, it goes for a little like $60, $70 maybe. So
what, a 10 is like 200?
So I have a 10. There's only 4 of them. There's only 4 CGC 10s that exist in like the Vaporeon, for example. And I have it listed for like 600, but I would probably sell it for like 300 to 400, depending. It depends though. I might not though. That's probably a bag I hold for a long time, just like this. And people will be like, "You're a fool. You should sell out. That's a $20 card. You should get out and take your profit." But I'm probably gonna hold that one and sell it for close to like 500 or 600. But once all of those promos are gone, because those are $25 cards right now. Like that is, so you're in $25 for the card, $13.50 for the grading, and then you send maybe 10 of them, 15 of them. You get multiple chances, sell off all the 9s and the 9.5s. Maybe one of them you hit a lottery. You still make some money on the 9s and 9.5s, and on the 10 you make a lot of money. So like and that's not even like that's an obvious play. Like who doesn't know about those EVs? Like who doesn't know about these cards? Like everyone knows about those cards. It's not even like a very like it's pretty obvious. I think it's an obvious. So I definitely think that there are plays to be made that people are just not really doing because it seems like it's too obvious. But sometimes you have to be willing to do the thing that everyone says, "Oh, that's too easy, that's too obvious," because they're saying it's too easy and obvious for a reason, right? Like. Yeah. So I don't know. So that's my thought process. And that's just some of the things I thought it'd be fun to talk about, like talk about some of the things that we're doing, like actively, like everyone's behind the scenes. Like I'm not worried about everyone going and doing this because there are so many of these. But you know what? The demand is so high for them. If everyone did it in this chat, it wouldn't budge the market. I don't think it would budge anything. So
I'm just going to kind of, promote it a little bit. I have a video that I have filmed I'm going to drop tomorrow. And I just love to get your opinion on it. So you don't have to like give me your opinion in a comment section or something. But what do you think about the bearish sentiment portrayed in Pokemon by, whether it be a creator, content creator, YouTuber, someone in Discord? Okay. The bearish sentiment they put out, but then at the same time, they're the ones with the largest positions and they're the ones buying the most Pokemon. And so how can you promote and talk about something as bearish when you're doing the exact opposite with your action, right? That'd be like someone going on, CNBC and talking about a stock or talking, and saying, yeah, I think the stock is terrible. I think its earnings are bad. I think it's going to continue to drop. I don't see it, innovating in the future. I don't like the leadership there. Then they're saying, okay, great. So you're saying to dump this? Oh, no, I'm holding it. I'm actually buying more. What? And so what do you think about that? I mean, how can you be bearish on something that you own so much of, right?
I think what that comes down to, a lot of it, and I see it a lot in a lot of big channels and stuff, is having a large audience. I think that what you say to a large audience, if you say something that maybe someone takes the wrong way, say you give a example, say I say, go buy those EVs, right? Say someone watches this and they see me say, go buy these EVs. and then they go and take their whole 401k, they liquidate it, and then they buy those EVs, and then the market collapses, and then they're suddenly without a 401k. I would feel really bad if someone did that. If they then came to me in my comment section and said, hey, man, you said do this thing. You said it's a pretty good idea. I did this thing. It's a bad idea. And so, like, I feel like the bigger channels are probably putting out that slightly more bearishness as like a caution against that, because it's important to kind of make sure that people don't make terrible mistakes, or if they are going to make terrible mistakes, they make them of their complete own accord and they know what they're getting into. Like when I make a terrible decision, I like to know that it's going to be a terrible decision and still do it. And then maybe if I'm rewarded, then that's fine. But I think it's one thing to say that you're like really bullish on something and to promote it when you have, like, for me, like 1,000 followers. I don't feel bad about talking about something like this to 1,000 followers. But if I had 100,000, if I had 500,000 followers, if I had 1 million followers or 2 million, like Unlisted Leaf or something, and I said, hey guys, I think this is a really good opportunity right now, it would probably move the market. And I might not want to do that. Like, not because I have a position in it per se, but because I feel like it might be something that was like not my intention. So like, I think it has to do with like the size of the platform and then the integrity of the content creator who is then going and shilling the product. Like, it's one thing when you're like PokeRev and you're literally selling the packs and you're shilling the product at the same time you're selling it to your, which is like fine, that's a whole thing, that's okay. But then when you're like an investment channel and you're just saying like, hey, I really like this stuff, but maybe like practice some caution if you're going to get into it too, I think that's just reasonable. And I think it just has to do with like the content creators, like personal codes that they like to follow. And like, I personally, like, when I get if I get a lot bigger, I might stop making the type of content that I currently make or being as candid, not because I'm like trying to hide anything, but because I might feel like I have more responsibility in a certain way, you know? Whereas like now I feel like I can say whatever the hell I want. I mean, not really. I'm on your channel, so I wouldn't just, but like on my own channel, I feel like I just say whatever the hell I want. And I'm so small, it doesn't even matter. So like, whereas if I did have 100,000 people, I would probably think twice before I said, hey guys, this is good. Because even though I believe that, I wouldn't want someone to FOMO into it. You know what I mean?
Hey, let's be honest. You can say whatever the hell you want on my channel too. There's no barriers here,
up, man. Where you at? You're over 2,000 now, right? You're gonna be over 9,000 anytime. You know, power level over 9,000 here.
Power level over 9,000.
Yep.
No, I mean, everything you say does make sense. I don't know. I just feel like one of the main things you said is like with this modern product, like, you know, like when I made that last top 5 video, I mean, I was talking about bolt-on boxes, for God's sake, like Pikachu V boxes, Pokemon Go, which isn't even released yet. Like, yeah, those tins. It's like these products, it's very hard to really, you know, move a market, especially at our size, with these mass-produced modern items. And at the same time, if I also believe in them enough to where a lot of those items I actually have bought and am buying myself, I don't feel bad about, you know, telling people what I'm buying or what I see out there. And so I don't know. I've just never been a fence sitter. I've never been afraid to, you know, put my opinions out there. Obviously, none of this is financial advice. You know, don't just go do things because we're doing it or we say that, you know, that we think it's good. But at the end of the day, you know, I would never talk bad about something that I'm doing. Like, I would never, you know, buy these. Yeah, I would never have these cards set aside that you have for grading or go buy these sealed items and then get on a video and say, you know what, you know, I just see these cards getting way overgraded. Even 10s, I don't see performing well. I think the steel product is way overprinted. There's not enough demand for the supply that's coming, and I don't see any of this stuff moving, and it's going to perform poorly. It's like, how could I come out and say that, but then be doing the exact opposite with my own thing? You know, I wouldn't feel right about that. I mean, I understand keeping people safe, but at the end of the day, I mean, I wouldn't feel right about like counteracting what I'm actually saying. Like, my actions wouldn't match my words, right?
Right. And I feel like I like your channel because you just very much so say what you're feeling. You're not afraid to speak your mind. Like I said in the beginning of this, you're the type of person who just kind of, you know, talk about controversial issues, which I appreciate. Because like, I grew up in speech and debate, like in high school and like in college and stuff. I was like on the debate team. I just would have debates with people just for like intellectual, you know, I would take a stance that I didn't necessarily believe in just to have the argument, you know, just for fun. So I like that level of like nuance and debate, and I appreciate the fact that you'll just say what you feel. But just to be clear, like I agree with you on those EV10s. I was showing these, by the way, because this is my next CGC submission. Like these are 50-cent cards. These are like dollar cards. I am
Looks like you're light on the
Espeon. So yeah, I already so there's a lot more. There's tons more. I just grabbed a few of them, but trust me, there's like a lot more. I've already got a couple of I got a perfect and I got a pristine on the Sylveon, so I probably will need a few more Sylveon. But yeah, those are the types of cards that like you were talking about on your channel to make the Pokemon. It's super baggy. So I guess I'm into weird obscure plays that aren't so obscure. So that's the I guess that's what I would tell people to do is look if people are looking left, look right. You know, you want to try to look places where maybe the play isn't obvious. Maybe it is obvious, but it's not exactly obvious.
Yeah, I would say that kind of like Jake, Pokenomics, right? Like the stuff he does, it's going to be bigger risks, but when he gets it right, it's going to be gigantic rewards. Whereas like looking at the obvious stuff like you're showing, as long as you're getting at the right price, they're grading, you're pre-grading them right, you basically have profit built in. I mean, I know it's obvious, but yeah, it's an obvious, $20, $30, $40 a card. And when you do that with enough cards, it becomes hundreds and thousands of dollars. So, it may seem obvious, it may take a little work, but at the end of the day, I don't want to say free money, but it's easy income. I'll say that it's easy income for your work and effort by going after those obvious things. Because the thing about obvious things is, yeah, we have people who watch these live streams, we have people who watch our channels, but again, we're still a very small community. When you look at the people actually buying these on eBay, I'm sure most of the people buying these cards when you list them do not watch either of our channels. And that's the thing. The buyers are not Pokemon investors. They're Pokemon collectors.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's a very important distinction to make as well. And a lot of the time, the people that are really buying these things that we are seeing, we're like, wow, I would never pay $2,000. They're very happy with those purchases, and they really like those purchases, and they're never even going to look at comps, and they're going to have it on their shelf. They're going to show their friends when they come over, and it will probably, maybe I'm the one who's wrong for selling it that cheap. So, it's all a matter of perspective. But at the end of the day, I'm happy because I've gotten in and out of a card that I feel like I made profit at. And then hopefully the end collector is also happy. And, and I get to deal in something that I love day in and day out. And so while you were saying it is work, it is a lot of work. If you are putting in that work, at least maybe try to enjoy it. Because the way I get to wake up every day and I still feel like I get to pinch myself just because I deal in Pokemon and Magic the Gathering and MetaZoo and all these other TCGs too, but mostly Pokemon. And it just feels like it's just, a dream. So I'm excited for Pokemon Go, man. Speaking of a dream, I'm so excited about this set. I'm going to be getting a little bit of it at the end of next week, I believe. At least I might not be getting it, but I'm going to be seeing some of it. My distributor said he got a couple products in. He said he and his son opened up a couple of packs. So when I go to see him next week, I'm going to try to get him to open a couple more packs so I can take some pictures and maybe see if we can get a couple alternate arts put on the internet. So, shout out to anyone watching here. Check out the channel. I'm going to try to get some leaked photos if I can.
Yeah, and go back to the whole collecting, the buyers are collectors. It's I'm sure you have things in your collection right now that you cannot tell me the price point on them. I mean, I know I can't. I have people ask me stuff. I'll get messages hey, what's the right price to pay for that complete box crystal version and strategy guide you have? I have no clue. I mean, I bought it years ago now. I don't keep up on it. I have no clue what a good price is on that. And that's how I have things in my collection. I'll put these slabs away. I have stuff in my collection that I literally just don't pay attention to the market on them because I'm never going to buy more of it. I already have what I want. I'm not going to sell it anytime soon. So I don't really care how it's performing. And I think that's how a lot of buyers are of these things. It's kind of like when I got back into Pokemon, I was just spending money. I did not even think about ever reselling my base set that I bought. I just bought it because I wanted to enjoy it, right? And so I think that's a big difference between what our communities are going to see and people watching our videos in the Pokemon investing sphere is that just seems crazy to them, but the biggest thing you can do when you're thinking about selling things is you have to get out of your own mind and try to get in the buyer's mindset. And the buyer is not going to be thinking like you most of the time.
No.
And that's not to say you're not going to sell to other investors. That happens. I mean, obviously, like, if you grade a whole bunch of cards and you're trying to offload inventory, you may make deals of like bulk purchases to other investors where they want to try and sell them one by one and take time. There are sales like that. I'm just saying, like, on average, you are going to be selling to buyers, collectors, people spending their money, and less of investors. So just kind of remember that not everyone thinks the way all of us do on these chats, right?
Yeah, can we possibly go into some maybe questions from the chat a little bit here? Because I've been terrible with the chat this whole time, but I do want to engage a little bit with them. Sorry, guys. I'm always bad with chats in these live streams, so I apologize. I'll get better with them. But I get so engrossed talking here that we just have such a good time with it that it's hard for me to read at the same time. But yeah, let's.
I was going to say the same thing. I was ready. Yeah, ask us anything we've been talking about or any questions anyone has. Try to stay away from like the exact, crystal ball type questions. I can't tell you exactly what to buy, what price, and exactly what it's going to be at in 3 to 5 years. So
I want to say one more thing about the Pokemon Go that hasn't been talked a lot about on these big channels. That me as an old Pokemon Go, like I got back into it from when I had my long hiatus, like a lot of people who I'm sure are watching. And so like I think that the coolest thing about the Pokemon Go set is the code cards being able to be applicable to your Pokemon Go account. Have you heard anything about that?
No, because I don't play Pokemon Go, but that's very interesting.
So apparently the code cards, some of them are going to give you items, like you can get Pokeballs, like gifts, like random little things that you can scan in and actually use in the game. That's a rumor that I've heard, and I hope that is true. If that is true, then that's going to make code cards from that set freaking gold. Are you kidding me? They're going to be gold mines.
So were you in back when like in 16 when like Pokemon Go Evolutions was big? I forget.
I was not collecting the TCG. I had a few Sun and Moon sets at the time because I would be out playing Pokemon Go and we'd see the card and buy a couple things at the dollar store here and there. But I didn't get back into the hobby until 2019 when Hidden Fates released. Hidden Fates and that Shining Charizard dragged my girlfriend and I kicking and screaming back into the hobby. So, okay. So I'm looking in the chat right now and I'm seeing that someone is asking something about EV Heroes. Do you know anything about Japanese, Alex? Or are you sort of only an English kind of guy?
Yeah, unfortunately, I'm English. I've had a lot of questions about doing Japanese content, and the reason I haven't, everyone, is just because I don't feel knowledgeable enough. I'm trying to like research into it, but it's just going to take a lot of time for me to get really engrossed in it, and I'm not going to talk about something I really don't know enough about. So, yeah, I couldn't speak knowledgeably on it. Can you?
I can only say that the EV Heroes booster boxes are appreciating pretty nicely where a lot of things are sort of not, even with a big reprint that they had. I can't speak so much on the market, though, because I do primarily, like you, deal mostly in English. I buy a lot of my stuff either through eBay, through, America, or I buy through my distributor. And while I do get some things, like you see the Southern Island collection on the wall right here, and I've got like this guy. Like I like some Japanese things, like
oh yeah,
that's the birthday Pikachu, the Japanese version of it. But like I don't collect a lot of Japanese, really just very specific things, to be honest. So like I wish I could tell you more about EV Heroes. All I can say is that full art trainers in Japan are so weird how much more they go for than in English. Whereas all the other things typically go for a little more in English. It just doesn't make sense to me, like the market. But I know a lot of people really like Japanese. And I know that if you're into grading cards, like we were talking about, I was strictly speaking about grading English cards. You can get even better returns when you're grading Japanese cards. Because Japanese cards, everyone knows, has much better card stock. It has better quality. So like if you're looking at doing what we were talking about, like grading and flipping, you may actually want to look at Japanese before you look at English, because you have to go through a lot more volume of English to get the good quality cards to get sent in. So yeah, I wish I could tell you more about Japanese. All I could say is the card stock's better. So it seems like maybe that's a play, but I don't know why EV Heroes is more valuable though.
So what's for TCGS? What's in your favorite binder? And it can't be the EV binder you showed, he said.
That's my favorite binder. Yeah, that is my personal favorite binder for sure. But I want to know what your favorite is, because I don't think I've heard you actually talk about this. Do you have any binder selections?
Yeah, I don't have like a crazy like where I have a ton of duplicates. I've always just been like set collector, so I have a lot of sets. I don't know. I think my favorite set that I have is probably my just the Black Star promo complete set, I think.
Yeah, so I was about to say that's also one of my favorites, but so is my tops. My top set and my card ass and the Magi. These are some of my favorites too, like this binder.
Yeah, so that's another stupid play like I made back in the day is I graded my Lucky Stadium and Pokemon Center 40, 41 on the Black Star promos. Mm-hmm. They both graded 10s. Okay. Sold them both.
Oh no.
And then rebought both of them raw for the binder collection and then kept the hundreds of dollars I made in profit and thought I was just the smartest person alive.
Yeah, those are the only two I'm missing from my Black Star promo set in my the 50. I think there's like 54 total, right? Or 53 or something, including, I don't know. But those are the two that I'm missing because I can't bring myself to pay the $400, $500 for the copies of them.
That's what the 10s used to cost.
That's crazy. Well, I
sold the 10s for.
Yeah. So did you hear so TCA Gaming was talking in a live stream the other day. He was talking about how he used to buy those from a lady in Arkansas for $5 a pop. $5 a pop sealed for the Pokemon Center or the Lucky Stadium, his choice.
That's so sick.
Yeah, but that's the thing about like the long term. Like there's a lot of this stuff that literally was worth nothing for a long time, and then it took a boom, it took a spike, it took a couple of down periods and everything. But during that whole time, a lot of people were very involved. A lot of people were still involved, even if they weren't necessarily like investing in it. And that's one thing I have seen, that even though the market's downturned just a little bit, I personally think that the collectors and the people who got into the hobby and who are still here, who didn't just get out and who are like burned by it and off doing their whatever they're doing now, sneakers or I don't know, whatever the hype beast moved on and did. I think those people are here to stay. And I do think, like I said earlier, it makes me so much more bullish on the future of the hobby than I was even in 2019 when I got back into the hobby organically. So I very much so look at these last 2 years as a good thing.
So Blazer,
did you see those card ass cards in there? I see you're showing those. Yeah.
Blazer OP says, why, the EV premium collections, how do you see it over time? Why is 90 too much? What were the retail price on those? Do you remember?
The EV premium collections? Okay. Oh, so these are $50. Those are $50.
Okay. So we've already seen
booster packs.
Yeah, we've already seen a 40 or a 90% increase, increase in the first year. That's a lot. Like that alone is hard to get into something when it's already seen that much increase. It's kind of like talking about the Hidden Fates ETVs right now. It's like they're 200% up. I mean, even though they're still about 200% up at 150 from $50. And so it's like, it's hard to like come out and give a hard recommendation when things are already up that much. Now, I mean, yeah, they can perform well in the future. It's just, like I said, if there's enough buyers out there to continue to push them. It's just, I like getting into things before they have those gigantic moves. Not saying that they can't keep moving up. We're not saying that it's like hit a price ceiling or they're not going to keep going. It's just, now. Yeah.
Yeah. But there is a play to be made in those though. So to your question though, like, so you're saying, why is 90 not a good buy? It sounds like you might want to get into those. Maybe you missed out at the 50 mark. Well, since you do want to get into those, trust me, a lot of people bought them when they were $50. They opened them and they don't even care about the cards anymore. You can buy the cards inside of that box for like $20 to $25, especially if you get them in like a collection, in like a big binder, or even if you just go on Facebook right now, Facebook Marketplace, see someone in their binder, right? Say message, say, hey, I want to buy that Flareon, that Jolteon, whatever it is. Ask them for pictures of the back. They will probably offer pictures of the back for you. If it looks good, that's a good play, $20. I mean, that's the reason I would want that box is the promo. I don't care about the 6 booster packs. You're going to probably brick on the booster packs anyway. You're going to get a Fusion Strike, one Evolving Skies. I think there's a Brilliant Stars in there, maybe like a Chilling Rain, couple like maybe 2 Fusion Strikes. It's not great pack selection, to be honest. And it gives you get a pin, so you get a cool like enamel. I don't have one next to me, but you get a cool enamel pin. You get like a big bulk size, oversized card. The only thing that box has for it is the promo cards. That is the only thing people want. And those are still dirt cheap in my opinion.
Yeah, and Pokemon Martin said that the TCG player, they still have the set of 3 for $220, so it's a little better deal if you're looking for a little better entry point.
I still don't think that I wouldn't recommend at that high of a price point. I sell them on TCG Player. I'm probably one of the lowest listings at like $89. The old card shop listing on TCG. I would not buy from my store if I were you. I am not recommending anyone buys at that, but that I believe is one of the lowest prices on the market right there.
Okay.
I just don't recommend it at that price. I far and away recommend just buying the singles from somebody on like IG or Facebook Marketplace, because I always try to think to myself, like when I'm starting to feel the FOMO sink in, if I'm starting to feel like, oh man, I missed out on something, I then try to analyze why I'm feeling that way. I'm like, what is it that I feel like I missed out about that box? And can I still get involved with it? I felt that way about the post office boxes from Japan, the Japan Post boxes, those really cool ones with the Japanese, like the Pikachu looking back and the Cramorant swooping down. I felt like I missed out on those, and I didn't buy the boxes when they're like 180 or whatever, when they were sitting for 180 for a while for the whole sealed box. And so I went after the fact, and I found when they were all the way up to like 220 or 230, I felt like I had missed the boat. I didn't want to buy them. I just found the singles. I bought the cards themselves still sealed for like 80 something, $90 a pack for the 2 cards. And I realized, why do I want to pay an extra $120 for this whole big box when all I really want is the singles inside of it? Because people want the box for collectability, but I was sort of just wanting the singles. So like, I always try to evaluate when I do start getting that FOMO sinking in, like what it is that I'm feeling it about. And maybe if I can remedy it with a little bit of a cheaper option, I'll do that. Or I'll just let that FOMO sink in and I'll move on to the next thing. Because there's so much cool stuff coming out. Like if you missed out on the ultra premium collection, don't worry. There's going to be another cool thing. I bet you there's going to be another ultra premium collection in another year or 5 years or whatever it is. So it's just, a matter of trying not to fall for that hype too much.
Yeah. It's a really hard scenario, especially for me, being all about sealed is like he was talking about when you kind of like break the product down, what's actually inside, the other side of it is always that sealed aspect of it. It's sealed product when it moves, kind of like those boxes being so scarce, not getting a reprint, being open so much and all those cards. I mean, now we're getting so many of those cards in the market. Maybe just the sealed product will be so much, will kind of rise in value just because it's scarce. Maybe that will be one of those plays. I mean, I showed a couple boxes in a video before, like there's Flygon EX boxes. There's, Sharpedo boxes that are, up to 300%. And the packs and the cards inside are worth nowhere near what the actual sealed product is worth. And so it does become a point where the sealed product does gain value. It's just, it's one of those things where when things rise that quick and people get caught up in FOMO, it can be a point where things can fall, things can go stagnant, things can not move as well over time after they've already went. And like you said, there's so much product coming out that I talked about it before. Don't be afraid if you can't hit everything. You are going to miss things. It's okay. And it's always better to miss out than it is to get into something and take losses, right? It's always better to really have strong convictions, do your research, really make sure that you're getting in at a good price and that you really see a good growth on that item. And otherwise, instead of like kind of just jumping in with the crowd and hoping you catch it and keeps going, because you could be right and you could make money, but making money feels the positive vibe you feel with that, it feels 10 times worse when you lose money. So I'd always want to be on the side of caution.
And it also keeps you engaged and involved, and it's fun just to be involved with the hobby in some regards. It's not fun when you're losing all the time, but it is fun to be involved if you can catch a couple licks. If you can get a couple wins here and there and you're not taking all L's, it feels kind of fun,
Oh yeah.
And that's what we're here for. We want to help you guys, as much as we can. We can't, obviously, we don't have a crystal ball, but we want to at least give our opinion about some things. And I like to talk candidly about it. So, it's kind of a fun conversation to have.
Oh, yeah. Does anyone else have any questions? I'm trying to scroll through. I didn't see really any more in the chat. If anyone has them, just shout them out. I do want to shout out Augustus. He said, I've been looking at your Celebrations UPC on eBay and just saw you had a channel. Hey, I'm glad you found it. I don't know if you found it from the link I left in the eBay listings, but happy to have you here.
This man's famous from his UPCs. He of all the products that I think you're famous for, you've got to be more famous for the UPCs. I think that's the one you're going to go in history.
Why is that?
Oh, well, I mean, it's the one that I feel like you've made the most videos on, right? And it's the one that's the most memey of all of
I know
them.
it's just funny because like I know so many people who have more. Like I know like I don't know if Dan Catching My Collectibles has more, but I know like
Rusty has
He
almost
has more.
100.
Like TCA Gaming has way more. He even talked about it in a video of how many he's stocking away. So it's like I kind of got like seen as like this crazy person putting all these UPCs away, but like I have less than a lot of people, you
I
know.
have 5. I have one sealed case and the one that I showed earlier in my case that's on display. That's what I have. I have 5 of them. I had a lot more. I sold them though. I sold them all when it was going up to like 325. I sold them at like 300 to 325, except for my last case.
I've sold 7 now so far.
You had like
I
close
sold one
to
as a
20,
sealed
I think
case.
you said publicly, right?
What's that?
You said close. You had close to 20 was what you publicly said, right? I think.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's all I've ever had. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's a lot. I mean, that's probably about as much as I went through total after all my sales and everything. I probably only saw about 20 of them.
Yeah. I mean, it's like I said, it's a great product. You know, I know people do say, I don't want to shout it. I'm not going to name names, but like there's been talks that people have said that no one ever said that was a bad investment. And that's not true. That is not true. There were many people saying in the 250s that there was a lot better place to put your money, and it's a risk putting it into that because it could get a reprint. It's so far over, it's almost double MSRP already this quick. And there was a lot of people saying that. But, you know, I was still saying it was a great buy at 250, and then it went to, you know, high threes. Now it's retraced a little bit, but, you know, everyone wasn't on board with that. Everyone was on board at MSRP, but everyone wasn't on board on that when it was in the 200. So I do want to throw that out there. I mean, it was still a controversial play as much as now everyone wants to act like it was just such a sure thing. At the time, they weren't moving. They were stagnant in the low twos. I mean, they were not this like for
and they
sure
got
item.
reprinted. And they did get a reprint. People don't realize it. They did get a reprint. And so when they first came out, they were selling for $365 in the very first release. Because I sold some of them at $365 when they first released. And then they got reprinted and the market tanked and all of those other things got reprinted and they went to 200. And then that's when that negativity sunk in. And that's when I sold them on Facebook. I had to sell through Facebook and Instagram because I didn't want the huge fees from eBay.
Same.
Sell them for a little cheaper.
You're transforming again.
But that I had to deal with the Facebook comment section, the peanut gallery. Oh, sorry. How about now? A little better? Come back.
Good.
We back? Okay, so yeah, people were literally saying like, why would you buy them for over retail when
you're gone again?
And buy them for $130, and they would shame the buyers who are buying. It's doing it again.
Yeah.
Okay, we're back. I'm sorry about that. But yeah, it's a weird thing when like you're making a sale and every single person in the comment section who has nothing to do with it wants to like comment and say something about the sale and like nag on the person who's trying to make the sale and then the person who's buying it. It's a really weird situation, and it's why I don't do a lot of business on Facebook, but it's certainly something you can get the best deals there for sure.
Yeah, and anyone out there watching this, that anyone ever wants to buy anything from me, message me on Instagram. I constantly try to coach anyone who messages me on eBay into going to my Instagram. I did sell a case of UPCs recently through Instagram because, you know, the buyer got a lot better deal. I passed on the 10% savings to him through eBay. I still made the same amount. Yeah, I did get a question about the UPCs in the chat from Augustus. You know, if I long term, what do I see them going to? So just because I'm selling doesn't mean I don't see them as a good investment long term. I bought 20 of them in order to have like 2 cases for myself long term. So I never expected to hold all 20. I didn't lock up that much money forever. I still see them doing well in the future. I think they had a huge uptick, and that's why we're seeing a little downtrend, you know, and the whole market's kind of going a little sideways, a little down. But I think because we saw such a dramatic uptick, we're just seeing kind of a slowdown because of how much it went up. But I'm still on record. I've said it before. Again, not financial advice. This is not guaranteed. Anything can happen. In my opinion, I still think they can be at 500 by Christmas.
I don't think by Christmas, but I agree with that sentiment. Once you're, I was gonna say 500 is kind of my target on them as well. I think that
maybe in the 400s, maybe.
That'll probably where I'll stop moving at 400, but I think 500 is gonna be like my target. But yeah, I think that on products that once they get to a certain level, they stop moving, not because their fundamentals don't make them keep moving, but because prices just kind of, there's certain levels you're comfortable spending on items. So like $100 or a $50 item has a much more chance of doubling than a $1,000 item has a chance of doubling, I think, because of the level involved, because people are so much more, it's easier to spend $100 than it is to spend $1,000 or $2,000, right?
Yeah, so I did a video. You're gone.
Sorry about that. I was cutting out. I'm sorry about that. It keeps on cutting out.
Yeah, so basically I did a video on that. It was kind of, my channel was smaller, so I don't know if a lot of people ended up seeing it, but I'll make another one in the future. I did it on like the price ceiling on Sun and Moon boxes, and it's weird because other than like Crimson Invasion, Sun and Moon base, and then Team Up, all of them kind of settled in that $300 to $500 range. And if you go back to XY, if you take out the first 4 sets, because that was before the printing really ramped up. I know printing we see now is even more crazy, but back in XY, I remember it because base, Phantom Forces, Flashfire, and Furious Fist were before like things started getting reprinted and the print run started ramping up to kind of go with the demand, because the demand was getting a lot more in Pokemon. So other than those 4 sets, they're still in the 4 figures. But other than those 4 sets, even Evolutions now, none of these sets in XY are over 4 figures. And Sun and Moon, none of them are over 4 figures. So there is that price ceiling where things hit in that like $300 to $700-800 range. Like that's what people are kind of wanting to pay for these quasi modern, vintage-ish when they start getting a little older. And it's not to say those price ceilings won't rise over time. They won't get to those, $1,000 mark. It's just in that time period, in this, 3, 5, 7 year time period, that just seems to be the, what people are comfortable paying for those, that age of boxes with that, that scarcity to them. And so, yeah, once the UPC reaches those $400, $500 range, it's going to be so much easier for it to go to 250 to 500 than it is from 500 to 1,000. I mean, the Generations Ultra Premium isn't even at 1,000. I know there's a lot of kind of reasons why this one's better. It's got the gold Charizard, maybe Celebrations has some harder chase cards than Generations did. There's nuance to it, but yeah, I mean, buying it now, I think it's, if you're asking me if it's a good buy, I've kind of stuck by that. I've been wrong now because it has dropped, but I still kind of say, there's no time like the present. I mean, this is, in my opinion, obviously not financial advice. Don't go out and do this. In my opinion, if I didn't have one and I wanted one for my collection, I still think now is probably time to buy it. Now, is there other things that can go up more? Yes. But like I said, I still think it's going to rise in the future. Now, if you're going to ask me that question at $500, we're going to start getting to a different story. I mean, I don't know how much growth is left in the, next 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 years at $500, What do you think about that?
Yeah, and I do agree. I think that 500 is about where I would probably be like, yeah, I think I'm good to sell out of all the ones except for my one. And then I would probably look to maybe reinvest that into a newer product that had more room for growth in a quicker, shorter time frame. But yeah, I definitely think that the UPC is, if it's something out there, if you're in the chat and you're sitting there, you're like, man, I really feel like I missed out. Personally, I think the UPC is a good product, but I think they're going to come out with other ones. I think you will get another chance. And if you just kind of let this one go and you wait until the next big product comes out that you want, you'll get another chance to kind of get involved at the ground level. So I guess if I were to give someone advice, I wouldn't personally advise buying at this price. I would probably just be like, okay, I'm fine with missing out on it, and I just get to the next one. But that's just a personal choice for me, though. So like, no one can tell you how to collect, right? So like, I think if someone's out there and you're like, yo, I think you're wrong, I think it's a really cool product and I do feel like I want it, and you're wrong, then I think you should buy it. If you're sitting here listening to what I'm saying and you think that's dead wrong, well, that answers your own questions for you, you know? So
here's a great mindset to have. Okay, everyone. Hidden Fates, ultra premium or super premium, ultra premium. I forget which one that was. It was after the changeover. I think it was ultra premium. So Hidden Fates, ultra premium collection, right? Great product. Okay. How often do you think about it? How often are you worried about if you own it or not? Probably most people aren't. And so Celebrations UPC is the flavor of the day right now. Maybe Pokemon Go will have one. Maybe another set in the future will have one. It'll be the flavor of the day. And year, 2 years, 3 years from now, maybe you won't worry so much about if you own a UPC or not. It just you do right now because that's the big main product right now. So just kind of think about that. Are you worried that you don't own a Dragon Majesty Super Premium Collection or a Shining Legends Super Premium Collection? Are those huge things to you that you don't own? And if they aren't, I get it's a different product. I understand as the gold Charizard. I get there's different nuance to it. My point is like as time goes on, the things that are so important to you right now may not be as important in the future. So just keep that in mind.
Yeah, it's all perspective, right? And at the end of the day, it's all shiny cardboard. So it's all fun to just speculate and talk on. But if you don't love what you have, you should definitely reconsider, like maybe getting out of it and buying something you do love, or just kind of moving on, right? It's okay to move on to other things. I also think there's something about this hobby that like we talk about like being in it for the long term. I don't think everyone has to be in it for like engaged in the long term every day, all day to be like in the hobby. I think there will be times where people kind of like they get in and out of the hobby. Sometimes you have a little extra money to spend, so you go buy some packs and you interact a little more than you would. Maybe there's a card you're chasing, and then other times you kind of you're busy. You don't have time to do it, so you don't engage for as long. So I think that it's okay to come back and forth, and maybe to just like throw your cards in the closet and forget about them for a while. That's what a lot of people are doing.
Yeah. I'll answer this one, and you can, pick one that you want to answer. But Aaron Scott, he's always watching the channel. He asked if I ever open stuff or just buy and sell. Of course I open stuff. I actually thought about, I talked about doing some pack openings on the channel. It's just like, I feel like I'm so bad at it. And I don't just want to throw out content that I feel like I wouldn't be interested in. I'm going to try to get it set up and try to make some good videos doing it. But yeah, I opened a lot of Celebrations product, opened some Evolving Skies, opened some Brilliant Stars, just for fun. And then, depending on, what kind of I'm trying to do with the collection, I'll keep some, maybe I don't. The Celebrations, I opened like 5 VTBs worth total. And I came to the conclusion, just like kind of every other set is now, I'm just like, even this set, as small as it is, it's going to take too much money to complete. So I ended up buying a complete collection for like $180 on eBay. So, no, I still open stuff for fun every now. I have a local card shop. If I go up there and they're having some deal on tins or collection boxes, I'll just pick some up and have fun. And me and my wife will open some. What about you?
So I do open with my girlfriend sometimes. Like I said, Hidden Fates was what we got back in the hobby for. So she and I actually do open together sometimes. The last thing we opened was Brilliant Stars, because she was hearing me opening it a bunch on my stream. And she was like, hey, I want to open some of this set that everyone says is like awesome. We sat there and we opened probably 20, 25 booster packs, just loose packs that I had just sitting around. We got nothing. We bricked so hard. She looked at me and she said, do people actually like this set about Brilliant Stars? So yeah, we do open, we have fun. We experience the pain that is modern opening just like everyone else does. But I don't do a lot of it though. So the last time I opened a whole booster box was probably about a week or so ago. And it was very rare that I actually do this, but I had a Battle Styles booster box and we were just sitting there joking about it. And we opened it up just for fun because nobody's buying Battle Styles, who cares? And we just thought it might be fun to open some. But I do once in a blue moon open some product, but it's not often. I'm not an advocate of opening product. I think
to be clear, there's no financial gain or investments that's going into opening product. Okay. Yeah. I'm just opening it, having fun. Whatever I get. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah, it's you have to be okay with taking a bath with it. And if you somehow you hit the lottery and you hit an alternate art, good for you. But for the most part, it's just for fun. So it's important to interact with. And you know what? If you're a sealed collector, it's important to interact and open some sealed stuff once in a while, just because it helps your investment over the long term appreciate, right? So do yourself a favor and enjoy the hobby that you love once in a while.
We got a lot of questions. Which one? Would you want to take one? Let's see. Are you okay? So Derek Martin, are you looking to move loose singles now with the economy drying up and looking to move into bulk in maybe a few months? Derek, I'm not quite sure what you mean by that. You know what he's getting at?
So I think we were talking a lot about like how the market's sort of changing a little bit when that question came through, and I think I saw it, and I think he was maybe mentioning like, do we think it's a good play to like take binder collections now that people are trying to sell them a lot and they're coming for a lot better prices and then resell them again at more market price? So like the plays that you used to be able to make back in the early days of like the early 2018, 2019s on eBay, you go buy a collection and you flip it. That was something that was unavailable for the last couple of years because people weren't selling their collections because we were on the rocket ship to the moon. It's hard to sell your collection when your face is like, and the wind is in your hair and like the rockets are going everywhere and like everyone's like, woo! It's hard to sell your collections when that's happening. But now that we're landed and things are kind of more, normal, it's easier to make those types of singles plays again. So I think maybe he was just saying like, is it a good play to make those buying collections and flipping? And I think there could be plays to be made in that. So hopefully that was not, taken the wrong way, but I think that's how I took
Pokey grinding with the 99-cent cheer. I think he's donated something in every single one of my live streams. So Pokey grinding, always appreciated. Thanks for always being here. Love always seeing you in here, man. Let's see. You see anything, just shout it out.
Yeah, so I'm looking at it now. We've touched on a lot of it. We're talking a lot about modern, so the
this will be a fun
about
one.
UPCs a whole bunch.
Yeah, this will be a fun
good one.
Nathaniel Bell, in your opinions, top 5 sets, Sword and Shield, in order. In order.
So does this include the specialty sets like the the Shining Fates, Champions Path, Celebrations, or are we just talking the mainline booster box sets?
No, I think it's gotta you gotta use all of them, right?
Okay, so we'll include the specialty sets then. Okay, that's fair. So here, let's go from the bottom up. So why don't you tell me your number 5? My number 5.
All right. Let's see, 5 in order. I mean, obviously, I'm gonna take Evolving Skies number 1.
I'm gonna number them right now.
All right, I'm taking Evolving Skies number 1. I'm actually gonna put Celebrations number 2, just because of the big 3. Just because of I don't know. I think a lot of those, second, the second 25 cards in the set, those, kind of all the reprints, I think those are going to do well. So I'm taking Celebrations, taking Brilliant. I think Brilliant stuff. Does Pokemon Go count? You really even know it yet?
Yeah. So you can include Pokemon Go without necessarily knowing what's in it. That would be a risk though. So I'm not willing to say. It's up to you if you want to include that.
Yeah. So I would throw Pokemon Go in after Brilliant Stars as my risk factor one. And then my 5th, the 5th one's going to be really between, Vivid Voltage or Champions Path, or I really don't know. I guess I would say I'll take Vivid Voltage number 5.
Okay. So yours is different than mine. Your list is different than mine, which is actually a good thing.
That's good.
I thought we were going to be seeing completely eye to eye on this for some reason. Okay, so I'm going to go from the bottom up on mine. So mine are a little different. So number 5 for the one that I listed, and I'll kind of give a little reason for why. The 5th one is one that I think a lot of people are going to disagree with me on, but the sole reason why I believe this number 5 is going to be a good option is that Shining Fates is because people love Shining Pokemon. And also Shining Charizard. So I'm putting Shining Fates as a specialty set as number 5, specifically the ETBs from Shining Fates. Okay. Then on number 4, I'm going to cheat again, and I'm going to use another specialty set. Champions Path, baby. I think Champions Path is one of the most hated on and underrated sets in the Sword and Shield era. Not only is it just a garbage set that nobody wants to open, but it has two amazingly hard cards to pull. And what I have learned is that if people love one thing, it is Charizard. If it's irrational, they love Charizard. So I'm putting my money on Champions Path ETBs specifically. Number 3, so that's number 4, Champions Path ETBs. Number 3 is going to be my first mainline set. I'm going to say Brilliant Stars booster boxes. Specifically, I like the booster boxes of Brilliant Stars, and if you can get cases, that's even better, because it's got Charizard, it's got alternate arts, it's got the first character rares. It has literally everything you could ever want in a modern set. Brilliant Stars has it for you. So Brilliant Stars is number 3 for me. Number 2 is going to be something that might surprise a lot of people, but number 2 is definitely got to be Evolving Skies. Evolving Skies, I think, would have been number 1 on this list if it wasn't going to get just reprinted like a freaking hammer. I still believe that we're going to be due not just this reprint, but we're due for another reprint after this, a reprint after that. And as long as people keep buying it, they will keep reprinting it. So it does move Evolving Skies a little bit down onto my list. So as number 2. And then that puts, as you most likely know, since we've left it out this far, the number 1 set, in my personal opinion, from the Sword and Shield block is none other than the 25th anniversary set, the Celebrations, specifically the Celebrations ETBs. I personally think Celebrations, as much as they printed it, as much as it was open, as easy as all those cards are to pull, I think it is one of the best sets they've ever made. And just it hits so much on that nostalgia, that whole opening experience that people wanted, that they will continue, I believe, to want in the future. That I definitely think Celebrations, if we're going to put the specialty sets on the list, I think the only set that's going to dethrone Evolving Skies is going to be Celebrations. So I don't know. What do you think about my list?
I like it, honestly, and more thinking about it, like the more I think about it, Champions Path probably deserves on mine, so it probably does deserve to knock Vivid Voltage off. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, I guess you're right about the Evolving Skies. It really just depends on how crazy the reprints get in the next couple of years, or next year, I guess, or so. But I don't know. It just has so many hits. It has so much value in all the hits, and I don't know. People love those evolutions. So I'll still stick with mine, maybe other than the Champions Path. I like it though. We have to have disagreements. It'd be stupid if everyone had the same list.
Oh yeah, no, and that's why I'm happy that we did have a different list here, because like I feel like there's a lot of people. No one would say Champions Path. I don't think there's anyone out there who's saying Champions Path, and I'm pretty sure unless you're a contrarian, there's nobody who's buying Battle Styles booster boxes right now. So
I was Champions Path was definitely on it for me. Not as high as but no, I was definitely thinking Champions Path, like on the list at least. Like I said, like
okay, that's fair. Yeah, I just don't hear a lot of people talking about it, just because everyone that I hear about Champions Path, the only thing I hear is how the population for that Charizard is the highest graded card that's ever been graded. And I hear that it's, a big bag, and I hear that Champions Path is the worst set, either it's Zard or bust, and nobody even likes the set. But then I see there's 2 Charizards and then a full art Charizard in the ETB that's guaranteed. I'm like, yeah, that's pretty good set in my opinion.
Yeah. Oh, I agree.
Yeah. So yeah, people are saying Champions Path. They're saying they kind of agree. Seems like they're saying Vivid's a little better than Champions Path in some regards. Yeah, I think you could make an argument for Vivid Voltage being higher than Champions Path for sure.
I see Pokemon Gym Hero in here. Me and him have went back and forth a couple times in my comment section. So I'm happy to see you in here, man. I'm glad us going back and forth didn't upset you at all or get you down on me. I mean, obviously we see things different. You think I should do things a little different, and we don't see eye to eye on some things, but I'm glad you're in here, and I'm glad we can have those debates and still be cool. So nice to see you.
It's important, man. I think, for the whole hobby to interact with each other, even if they have differing opinions. So I personally welcome people to come on my comment section and disagree with me. I like it. And so if anyone's ever feeling like they don't want to, say something, because you think when you leave a comment, even if it's disagreeing. So I'm sure Alex is the same way. That's the reason I love talking to him. He can handle, an opinion that's different than his own. So
it's so hard. It's so hard on comment sections. Like there's so much there's so many verbal things and like, facial things that you can do when you're talking to someone, even not live, but just like, on a camera that you can't do when you're in a comment section because people misconstrue what you're doing. You may see an angry tone when really it wasn't. And so, yeah, I hate, that aspect of it, but hey, it is what it is. We work with what we have.
It's like text messages, have you ever been in a text message conversation with someone and both of the people on each end are just saying things and taking it the wrong way? And it's like, wait, no, that's not what, and it just keeps on escalating. Sometimes it just needs to be, you got to meet in person just to kind of be like, hey, you know what? That was not intention. So it's always funny.
Yeah. So as far as like collecting goes, let's answer that. Cause I know a lot of people always, give me trouble for not talking about collecting enough because it's all money on my channel. So as far as collecting wise, what are you putting anything to your collect? If you're buying anything, like what is it you're like trying to collect right now, if at all anything?
Yeah, so I have been buying alternate arts from the Sun and Moon era right now because while the whole world is on the hype of modern alternate arts from like Sword and Shield, a lot of the Sun and Moon era stuff is either cheaper or about the same price as cards that are, right now modern being pulled. So that's some of the things that I do still want for my personal collection that I never bought at the time because I thought they were too expensive when they were coming out. Now that they've they're not the flavor of the week, I've actually been buying a little bit more. It's like, because I would never say buy singles, but for like my personal collection, I have been buying some singles of those alternate arts. And like, I'll buy a bunch of them. And if I get one that's good enough to grade, I'll send the gradable one off to get graded. And then I'll keep the ones that aren't good enough, maybe one for my binder collection, just because I'm never going to grade it. I just want it to enjoy the artwork. So yeah, I'm actually collector boying a lot of the Sun and Moon alternate arts right now, just because I like them a lot.
So what sets are those? Those are like the later sets, right?
Some of them. So like the tag team, Cosmic Eclipse, Unbroken Bonds, and yeah, so the 4 tag team sets, and Unified Minds. So I specifically right now I'm on the hunt for a really, really nice Psyduck and Slowpoke. And I also just recently picked up a Tyranitar and Sableye, Mega Tyranitar and Sableye, or no, Mega Sableye Tyranitar. I forget which ones, but I just picked up one of those, and I really enjoy them because not only are they really hard to get in really good centering or really good condition, but they're just beautiful artworks, and they're like less than $50. Some of them are like sub $50 for like a card that a booster box is like $700 to open as far as like from the lot. And so like I buy a lot of those and I hold them, and then I will enjoy, like behind me I have a bunch of those Hidden Fates, the birds. So even though I bought them to grade, I have a lot that are in my collection sealed just because I like those birds most, and old like best of promos that sometimes.
Oh yeah,
like these types of things Rusty shows on his channel.
Oh yeah,
those are some of my favorite sealed items, like these types of sealed promo packs. And so there's modern stuff that I grab just because it reminds me of that kind of stuff, And so like I like those types of things, and those are the types of things I've been buying in this down market, collector boy stuff, kind of.
Yeah. I've been like collecting some like really weird stuff, like like I guess they're considered secret rares, but so back in like it's like Undaunted, Unleashed, Triumphant, like those type of sets. They had those lithograph cards. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Oh yeah, the unknowns. Where
yeah, like all unknowns.
Your deck.
Those are actually really hard to find. I've been trying to get those. Obviously I can't find 10s, but I'm just trying to get them as high as grade as possible, just to have them in the collection. But just like weird stuff like that. And then like obviously I bought the Shining Legends. I'm trying to get some of the XY secret rares, like the Gyarados, the Alakazam. Even like the Fates-Clad Alakazam with like, it's not a secret rare, but it's like one with all the spoons all around it. And I'm just really trying to collect the things that I actually want, and I'm not like really, I'm taking like a certain amount of money each month, and I'm just trying to get away from the investment side of it. I'm just saying, hey, what do I actually want like in my collection again? Like now that prices are a little cheaper, now that I have a little extra money, like what do I actually want? I'm like, I came back into XY you know, all the XY sets were basically based around, you know, first gen Pokemon that I remember. And so I'm going and collecting those cards, like the Breakthrough Mewtwo's, the Breakpoint Gyarados, the Fates Clay Alakazams, like those types of cards. And like I said, like the Shining Legends, like it's different, you know, like everything in Sun and Moon is all rainbow rare. It's like those are the one thing that are just, they're different. I get they're not super hard chase, they're high pop, so it's like not the best investment, but they're just different. I like different things, right? And so, you know, just the weird type of stuff like that, you know, just weird, non-investable, just like, you know, cool cards you don't see every day.
Yeah, Pokemon Gym Heroes speaking my language about the Sun and Moon era. Yeah, he was saying that they were saying in Jake's live earlier that in the 2 to 3 years following a set's release, that's when the interest wanes, and that's when it's good to buy. I definitely agree with that. And I also have seen that from Sun and Moon, just the centering alone and the print quality, for sure. Get out of here. If you can get a mint one, that is literally like a gold mine, because like they're so hard to get in that. Whereas like now, I think they've gotten the print quality is a little worse, but they've gotten better about at least like centering and stuff for some of it. So
maybe yeah, maybe I'll have to take advantage of CGC, you know, going all soft and crack the 9s and send them into CGC for the 10s.
Yeah, so I've seen literal 8s, CGC 8s from the old certs cross to PSA 10s, and I've seen 8.5s cross to 9.5s, but I've never seen like an 8.5 or a 9 cross to a CGC 10 yet, but that would be really interesting if that happens. I've only gone the raw, and then I would... personally, I think it's a numbers game. So if you send enough that you've combed over, that you can you know, increase your odds a little bit that way. So you just have to send enough in. And then, you know, you send enough $1 cards in for $13, you're going to hit one big one and you can recoup the cost of all the rest just by dumping them.
Yeah. Back in the day when me and my friend were trying to do buyouts of cards, you know, like I talked about it before, like, you know, I had like, you know, all these PSA 9 Dark Magnetons back in the day because we got them all for like a couple $100, and the 10 was actually going for like 4,000. And so we thought about doing that, you know, just cracking all of them we had, sending them all in, and hope you get 110 and it pays for everything. And it does always kind of bring that up. You search these pop reports and you find these, you know, low pop cards that are going for thousands of dollars, and the 9s are so cheap because they're so plentiful because people have tried to grade them so many times. And it's like, gets you thinking that it's like, oh, well, if I can buy 29s and I send them in, I get just 110, I recoup all my money and everything else is profit. You know, it really makes you start thinking that way.
Can we talk about one possible thing, a little thought experiment that maybe we can go into a little bit at the end of the stream just to finish off with? Because I think this is something that I like to talk about and think about. But do you think that in order for a really modern, high pop, printed to oblivion set to really moon or skyrocket, like the case of Evolutions or the case of Burning Shadows, you need the hit cards or the quality of the cards to be really bad quality so that it inflates the high 10 prices of that low pop card, and then all the rest of the cards are sort of just pushed up by that like low pop scarcity that you'll never get just because the quality is so bad? So I've recently thought that like in order for a set to be considered really good in the long term, it almost has to have by its nature some sort of like a bottleneck that's going to cause some sort of a weird, irrational price reaction to a certain card in the set. So, and I guess I'm just looking at Evolutions as an example mostly, and Burning Shadows also, but.
Yeah, I'll respond to that real quick. So Pokey Grinding, another dono. If I gave you a Fusion Strike booster box, would you be willing to open it during your next stream with Ava? She loves the set, and you could rip the packs for her. Love all the new guests. Man, I haven't spoke to Ava in a while. I don't think she's made a lot of videos. I'd always be down for that if she wants to do that. So for sure, Pokey Grinding. Let's try to set that up, man.
Binder is one of my favorite new channels in the hobby. I feel like she gives such a fresh and like really refreshing take. And she's so much younger than a lot of these folks who are on here talking that I like hearing these other opinions from someone who's like not my age. So hey, shout out to Ava's Binder. You're great right now. Your channel is just amazing. So
I found her channel for the first time. I watched like 3 of her videos, and I immediately messaged her on Instagram. I said, hey, you should come on the channel. We should do a video together. And she was like, oh, I've never done a live stream, but okay. And I'm like, hey, trust me, it's gonna be awesome. And she's been like growing nonstop ever since. And I'm happy for her. I wish her the best. Like she's on it, right? I mean, she's young and she's on it.
She seems like she's really plugged in, which is really something cool to see.
She's actually she's a really smart girl. Like she's really educated. I don't know if she wants to, she doesn't really talk about that, but she's actually really highly educated.
I can tell from just how she talks. Like you can usually tell from like how someone carries themselves. Like, and I could definitely tell that. But so hopefully, we can see that video in the future, though. But what do you think about like a set having bad like quality? Do you think that's a necessity for like really mooning like rocket ship emojis, or do you think it's like I'm sort of overthinking that?
Well, Burning Shadows, remember the first, I guess, couple waves had terrible quality, and then there was one I think that had better, and I think that's why there's a lot of the Zards were really hard to grade. I mean, I remember they were hard to pull just in general, then they were really hard to grade. But look at like what Burning Shadows is going for compared to all the other Sun and Moon sets. It's not an outlier. It's kind of mixed up with Forbidden Light and Cosmic Eclipse and Unified Minds. They're all around the same price point. Huh?
Is it like $300 or $400? Is that what?
I think it's 400 or so, but like a lot of Sun and Moon sets are 400, and so it's like it's not a standout. So I'm just not sure if it's that has a big of an effect. You would have expected it to be more like a team up, right? You would expect it to be that like $700 box, but it's not. So it's weird. I don't know why it isn't. I think your reasoning's right. It didn't happen with that box for some reason. I don't know. And the Charizard's a lot more valuable chase card than what's in all those other sets, which doesn't make a whole lot of sense for it to be the same price. So I couldn't give you a great answer on that. I've been following it closely. I don't know why Burning Shadows is in my opinion, low performer for what the Charizard is.
Do you think it'll be similar to like Darkness Ablaze and the Sword and Shield block for that reason? Because there's not as much of a chase like in Darkness compared to some of the other Sword and Shield?
Well, wait, you want to try and compare Darkness Ablaze to Burning Shadows?
Well, I mean, it's not a comparable set, but I'm saying like as being a slightly less hype set than say some of the other sets. Say if you're looking at Darkness Ablaze and then say putting it up against something like Evolving Skies, you can't really even look at Evolving Skies and Darkness Ablaze on the same, but they're in the same block. Just like you can't really look at Team Up and Burning Shadows, even though they're both Sun and Moon. Team Up is a tag team set, whereas Burning Shadows is like a normal sort of just has like Marshadow. It has like, I don't know, Gardevoir. What other hits are in this? It's nothing good. Like
nothing. No, yeah, it is kind of like it's kind of like a Burning Shadows on steroids or a Darkness Blaze on steroids, just because it's really weird why they did that to Darkness Blaze. They put that secret rare or that rainbow rare in Champion's Path. And if that would have been Darkness Blaze, I think it would have been a lot better comparison. But yeah, it's just that full art Charizard is the big hit in Darkness Blaze. So I think it's hard to compare Burning Shadows to really any Sword and Shield set, because no, it's not a Brilliant Stars. Brilliant Stars has a lot more going for it than the Charizard. It's definitely not an Evolving Skies. I mean, it's Champion's Path like has multiple Charizards, but none of them are as hard of a chase or as hard to grade as that Charizard. It's kind of out there on its own. It's hard to say.
Imagine this. Imagine Champion's Path had the print quality of Darkness Ablaze. What do you think that would do for the value of the Charizard and the value of the set? Or not dark. I'm sorry, Burning Shadows, not Darkness Ablaze. Imagine that Champion's Path had Sun and Moon Burning Shadows print quality, but it came out like Champion's Path came out. Do you think that would be? Do you think it would be like sort of a different type of situation with Champion's Path? Do you think that people would be much more excited for it because the chase was that much more difficult to get an actual good Charizard? Or do you think it would actually hurt the price more, but the print quality is worse? It's a weird inverse relationship, right?
I think it's almost comparable to Shining Fates a little bit, because Burning Shadows is a big set, and it takes I remember Darian's Pokemon talked about it before, did 1,000 pack opening and pulled one. And I think that's more along the lines of like pulling like the Shining Fates is because it's such a huge set. You have all the baby shinings, you have all the shinings, you have so much to hit that to pull the Charizard, it's so hard. And I think that's kind of like the Burning Shadows. Like it's so hard to pull, where it's like Champion's Path is a small set. And so it's just a matter of opening enough product, you're going to pull those Charizards. Where it's like Burning Shadows, you can go through case after case after case and not pull it,
You get all the baby shinies and all the extra hits though with the Shining Fates, whereas with a Burning Shadows, you're literally left with bulk that's worth 50 cents. Like
Yeah,
if you open a Burning Shadows booster box, you spent $400, your expected value is about $10.
it's true.
I'm not
You're going Transformer.
Expected EV is $10 probably. You're right. I think it is probably for no. You see me doing the robot now, probably. My back. Sorry about that.
You're good. You're good.
Sorry about that. Chat.
Your face is frozen, but your voice is back.
Okay, we're back. Okay, sorry about that, chat. It keeps on doing that. So let's get a couple more questions, and this is probably a good time for us to wrap it up since my internet just doesn't want to be, very worthwhile right now.
No, I think it was a great stream. I mean, I think I got a lot out of it. I mean, I'm happy to hear. I'm happy to hear that you're doing well with those grading and CGCs. You know, the turnaround times are legitimate, and you know they're giving out better grades for better or worse. I mean, it's better right now for anyone getting them. I don't know if that's going to be a detriment to those high grades in the future, having too many 10s, but they're going good now, so I'm happy for you.
The prices of 10s have come down significantly, even in the last month. There used to be a severe, like for now, CGC 10s go for about PSA 10 price. It's only a little bit above, whereas before they were going for like 2, 3, 4 times PSA 10 price for the CGC 10. So the market is aware. The market's definitely aware.
Yeah. Well, everyone.
That being said, can I throw out a little plug for my my channel here at the end? If anyone is stuck around this long, I appreciate you guys. If you don't mind, go like and sub to the channel. We are doing 1,000 follower subscriber giveaway, so you'll be just in time for that. We also already have a giveaway going on one of our videos in the last couple of days. So just, go to sub on the channel and check out what we got, and I'll throw that out there. But Alex, I do really appreciate you having me on today. Unless we got some last questions or anything. If you have anything you want to go.
Hey, we also have to plug. That's not all. We got to plug the whatnot. Anyone who wants entertainment, right? It's entertainment. It's not. You're not there to invest. You're there to be entertained and open some packs and possibly get lucky. So plug your whatnot too.
Yeah, we just hit 7,000 followers on our whatnot. And so anyone who is here from our whatnot channel, we greatly appreciate you guys. Thank you so much for all the support over the last couple of years. It means the world to me. Like I said earlier, I get to pinch myself every day. I don't take this for granted at all. But yes, if you haven't already, go check out the whatnot app. Go over to my channel, and on my channel there's links on how to get the app. You can get a $10 referral code or something, so you can get an extra $10 on what you spend. But it's a really great way to kind of watch and interact with the hobby. You don't have to spend anything on the app. I want people to know that when you go to watch in this app, you can strictly go to hang out, have a good time, interact with the community. I have people who come to my streams every day who probably buy once a month. They buy 1 pack a month or something, but they just hang out in every stream. And I love all of those people. So just know it's a great place to kind of go and hang out. So please, yes, thank you for, telling me to plug that. But if you haven't already, go check us out on Whatnot. It's an awesome app. There's a lot of great streamers there too, but definitely check us out.
Yeah, and I'll get those links up in the description after the video's over. So if anyone's watching the replay of this, I'll have those links in the description for you. Other than that, everyone who you stopped by, thanks for checking us out tonight. Pokey Grinding, as always, thanks for the super chats. And hey, everyone who asked questions and was in the chat, thanks so much. I really appreciate it. Make sure you check out his channel, and I'll be back here in a new